favorite sort of special products that they came out with for Magic the Gathering back in 2001. So this, in some ways, was a precursor to the Dual Decks series. It's a great product to get a feel for the game, to start to learn to play with, I think. And it's just a great piece of Magic history. The packaging that the set came in is so much beyond anything that the sets come with these days. You got a metal case big enough to hold, a good amount of cards or other things. It came with the 2 decks, obviously. They each came with deck boxes like this. Not sure where the other one is just at this moment.
Oh, sorry. Just so you can see chat while I deal with Brittany.
Okay. You also got a poster, not a huge poster, but with special artwork featuring the 2 most intimidating monsters, I guess you would say, from each of the 2 decks. You got the Goblin Mutant down there below, and the Lurgoyf up top, jumping on him. So,
there's nothing up there for you.
The Deckmasters itself, Garfield versus Finkel. Now, who are Garfield and Finkel? Garfield was Richard Garfield, the inventor of Magic the Gathering, basically. The first... Get your hand out of here, please. Thank you. The guy who designed the game and got Wizards of the Coast started, basically. And Finkel was an early successful and well-known at the time tournament champion. I don't know how well he's known since that time. I haven't really followed competitive Magic. I never really followed competitive Magic, but I know he was very popular and good at the time. So this is what was on the bottom of the tin initially when it was wrapped. And it gives this little blurb, which I'll just read out quickly here. The creator versus the champion. Magic the Gathering Deckmasters box set showcases the ultimate battle of wits. Richard Garfield, the legendary creator of Magic, faces off against John Finkel, a Magic world champion and legend in the making. Which one is smarter? Which one is sneakier? Which one will win? Play the decks. They personally designed decks specifically built to beat the stuffing out of each other, and decide for yourself. 2 volatile decks constructed by 2 explosive players. Get the message? Play with them. Learn from them. Hold the stuff of greatness in your hands. Deckmasters, the ultimate battle, over and over again. Contents. So just in case I missed something here that I forgot, 4 black bordered premium cards. So this was the first time I think these cards were printed in foils, I think, as of 2001. It could be. So you got Icy Manipulator, Incinerate, Lurgoyf, and Necropotence. 2 62-card pre-built decks, each featuring 2 of the premium cards, plus other Ice Age and Alliances cards. 2 20-sided spin-down life counters with the Deckmaster symbol in place of the 20. A 2-sided 10 by 14-inch poster of Lurgoyf fighting Goblin Mutant, which I already showed you. The other side isn't so special. It's...
You're not happy.
Is it Magic Online? No, it's too early for Magic Online. What is it? The other side of the 2-sided poster is for Arena, who are advertising a new service. Whatever.
Welcome in.
And full color booklet containing deck lists, expert analysis, biographies, behind the scenes stories, and more. I'm going to go through this booklet with you because there's a lot of great information in here about some of the cards, how the decks played out and how they were designed. It's just a lot of great information. So, and I want to show this briefly. This just came as an insert in the box so that you could hold stacks of cards. Obviously, these cards have nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but this is the insert that goes inside this tin so that you can organize cards a little bit better in there. Alright, so.
Hello, Ashley. How are you?
I guess we can flip the camera now so that I can start going through this and then the decks.
Okay, so you're gonna switch
So I
spots.
want to
then?
move it here, I think,
Okay.
so that I can reach around
All
it.
right, everybody, we're just gonna take you for a quick little trip here, because we are going to just switch this down here. There you
For
go.
easy reading and deck showage. This cord is...
Oh, it's probably the.
No, it's bedtime.
Alright, so this
Go
looks good. It's in
You
focus.
can either go watch
Yes.
the show in there very quietly, or you can go downstairs to Isabel's room. What do you want to do?
Let's just get some of the stuff in the background.
Okay.
And there we go. That'll do. Now, the dual masters, Garfield versus Finkel. So, starts out with picture. There's John Finkel. There's our table of contents. Little design of the back of Magic. And here's our forward. So, Luke versus Vader, Tyson versus Holyfield, Optimus Prime versus Megatron, and now Richard Garfield versus John Finkel. Let's face it, we've all wondered whether Wizards of the Coast's R&D and Magic the Gathering Pro Tours players are all they're cracked up to be. After all, these two groups are supposed to be the cream of the crop, right? As evidence of this, considered Wizards R&D trading card games now contains 6 former Pro Tour players out of 15 designers and developers, and 7 more have been around since before the Pro Tour existed. There must be the best of the best. So, we bring you the Deckmasters box set, designed to entertain you with Magic versions of a steel cage deathmatch. 2 experts players go in, only one comes out. Who are our gladiators? In the red corner, the one and only Richard Garfield. He of the mismatched socks, the man who birthed magic. Oh, that sounds kind of gross. Richard still plays almost every day, although he's been, again, this is 2001, I don't think that's true anymore. But then again, who knows? Although he's been known to build 90 card decks for limited play. Well, now people build 100 card decks, so, you know. He can wipe the smirk off his face long enough to take on a world champion opponent. And in the blue corner, John Finkel, weighing in at 1 national championship, 1 Magic Invitational victory, and 1 world championship, all in the same year. He's made the Tiger Woods of Magic an overused phrase all by himself. John is the odds-on favorite, and he seems to know it. But will pride prove his fall? An average player like me is thrilled by this matchup. Why? Because something big is going down. No, that's not all. I get to see 2 great players try to outwit and outbuild and outplay each other. And to make things more interesting, Wizards is making John and Richard play in a format that prevents them from just searching through the archives for the best deck. They must construct new decks using Ice Age and Alliances. Now again, Alliances came out in 96, and Ice Age was 95. This set came out in 2001, so this is 5 years later. These sets had rotated out of the standard tournaments by that point, but they were still fairly well known.
Here's a question for you.
Do you still play MTG, Papa Spocat? When I get the chance, which is quite rare. Actually, I ran into a guy at work who I used to play with, so that's was interesting. But hopefully I'll get the chance to play again soon, and... Jesse, I think his name was.
Oh, one that came out to the Magic Nights you guys used to play?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. They must be constructed new decks using Ice Age and Alliances cards with a present rarity mix and no sideboard. So why should you care about this brouhaha? Well, you can wait to see what happens when the fur flies, or you can get in on the action. Read this booklet to find out what each player thought the other would play, and get their advice on how best to play their creations. Then see what they thought about each other's deck building skills, and how badly they expect to trounce the other guy. But most importantly, their actual decks and decide for yourself who should come out on top of the clash when it finally happens. Now, interestingly, just on my thoughts on what I recall from doing this years ago, I think that Finkel was very, very confident, made some big mistakes, and in the actual game came out on top largely just due to bad draws from on the side of Garfield. That was my impression. So, but it's been a while. The right word choice, very interesting. Oh yeah, brouhaha, yeah. It was quite the thing, and there's again the picture from the poster that they came out with the Goblin Mutant versus the Lurgoyf. And Tarmogoyf became the most popular Lurgoyf a couple years after this when they reprinted a new type of Lurgoyf, basically. But this was the original Lurgoyf, and it wasn't as strong in tournaments, but for casual play, it could be quite strong. Games were slower, and in the late game, it could get quite massive. So there is that. And Goblin Mutant was the biggest, strongest goblin you could get in the early days of Magic. Up through, well, I don't know. I know you got scarier goblins really coming out in sort of Onslaught, maybe even Odyssey block. But at the time of Ice Age, it was massive. Anyway. Still not exactly a tournament card. Overview. What would happen if the two biggest figures in Magic, or two of the biggest, sat down for a little one-on-one? You've brought the product that answers that question once and for all. Here's the premise behind Deckmasters box set. We've convinced Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic, and John Finkel, the most illustrious Magic player in the world, to have a little showdown. Sometime after Deckmasters set is released, John and Richard will face off in public to play their epic match. You'll be able to view the coverage on Wizards of the Coast website as it happens. Think of it as this booklet as a program for the big brawl. Here you'll find the contents of the two decks and why Richard and John made the choices they did, and what they think about the others' choices. You'll be able to judge for yourself whose deck is better and who is entitled to brag more, and who can justify the trash talk. Let's say you don't care about whether Finkel schools Garfield or Garfield topples Finkel. You now have in your hands two decks made from powerful Ice Age and Alliances cards that were designed and tested by brilliant Magic minds. This booklet, Garfield and Finkel personally explain which cards in their decks are crucial and give them tips on the best ways to play their decks. So before or after their celebrity matchup, you'll be able to bust out the decks and decide for yourself who did a better job. May the best deck win.
Do you think you could find that footage somewhere?
Oh, I'm sure it's online somewhere. But they give a little summary here, anyway. So here's John Finkel and his deck. Now, you'll notice they were restricted on rares.
Just quickly, I mean...
There's another question. I'm not... I'm so not up to date with the new rules and sets. Last time I played a match with someone, it was 2013. Yeah, that's
probably close to time.
That's close to me too, to be honest. But this is back from 2001, so it's
a little bit older.
It's even older. So again, they were restricted to just the two sets. Each deck could only have 4 rares, and you couldn't have multiple rares, and no more than 2 of any individual card. And I think the reserved list was a factor in this too. So there were certain cards they couldn't pick because they weren't allowed to be reprinted. Mm-hmm. So there's that. So John Finkel ended up going with a black and red deck. He got Sulphur Springs. He also put in an Underground River to splash blue. This, I think, was one of his biggest blunders in terms of deck design. That's one of your 4 rares just to splash one card that can give you blue. And the only blue card, or card that even uses blue, in his whole deck, is it's a secondary ability on the Phantasmal Fiend. That's it. Nothing else here can make use of blue mana. So why burn one of your rare spots on a pain land just so you might be able to use that secondary ability? I think he could have found a more impactful rare for that rare slot, and maybe kept the Fiend, maybe found a different creature. But that's my biggest criticism of his decks, from my own experience with it.
Are you taking out the white pop?
So
Yeah.
I'll just sort of summarize this a little bit.
Go to bed, Ezra.
Why I built this deck and how to play it. The first thing I noticed when looking over this format was that white might as well not exist.
Good night.
How can this be? You may remember old school Magic Ice Age alliances from the format, so dominant as white was. Well, not really. White in general, but Blinking Spirit, Swords to Plowshares, Disenchant, and Kaldroran Outpost were dominant. Especially our friend the Outpost. Given the predetermined rarity mix and Wizards' reprint policy, there are maybe 4 playable white cards left. So I threw the whole color out the window. Yeah, Kaldroran Outpost, I think, is on the reserved list, so you couldn't reprint that one. I'm not sure about Blinking Spirit. I'm sure they could have used Disenchant, Swords to Plowshares. At this time, they were being very careful with it, but I think it could have been used. But yeah, the Outpost in particular, if he could have used it, would have been insanely good. And I think he might have gone with like a blue-white control deck, because that's sort of more in his wheelhouse. Anyways, the next thing I noticed was that red was good. Very, very good. Lava Burst, Incinerate, Guerrilla Tactics, and Pyroclasm are all constructed quality burn spells. Throw in some efficient creatures like Goblin Mutant, Orcish Cannoneer, Storm Shaman, and the super friendly Balduvian Horde, which can conveniently fill the deck's rare slot, and we have half a strong deck. I also knew I definitely had to play Icy Manipulator and Phyrexian Warbeast. They're inexpensive, efficient artifacts that could form a solid basis for almost any deck. The next job was to choose a second color. That wasn't so easy. All the other colors have good uncommons and rares. Blue has Browse, Binding Grasp, and Force of Will. Can you imagine if he had picked blue? Because honestly, if he is playing a solid blue control deck, you've got the base counter spell, you've got Power Sink, you've got Force of Will, and you've got Arcane Denial. That's at least 4 solid counter spells that he could have run. And Force of Will is not a rare, so he could have played 2 copies. This product would have sold like hotcakes if it came with 2 Force of Wills. That's the most popular, and always has been, of the Alliance's free pitch spells. It's a tournament staple. Anyways, he didn't go that way, obviously, as you saw the deck. Green has Lurgoyf, Hurricane, and Yavimaya Ants. Black has not only the all-powerful Necropotence, that dominated tournaments for over a year, I believe, but also goodies such as Abyssal Spectre, Ashen Ghoul, Dance of the Dead, Contagion, Withering Wisps, and Knight of Strongblad. But because the uncommon cards are so powerful across the board, I knew that regardless of which color I chose, the 12 uncommons in the deck would probably not be the deciding factor. And while Necropotence gave black an edge in the rare department, it would be the common cards that would make the biggest difference. As you probably know, I tend to play blue, so I turned to blue first. I realized that it didn't have that many powerful commons, but I loved the versatility of its cantrips. In a restrictive format like this, the ability to cycle through your deck and get to your few power cards as fast as possible seemed invaluable, and I always get a warm feeling in my tummy when I have countering spells in my hand. But in the end, blue was too much like a boy band, all style and no substance. So I whittled my choice down to black or green. Ironically, black's creatures are simply much better than green's in Ice Age and Alliances sets. In the end, I decided to build a red and black deck. How does this deck work in practice? It doesn't do much for the first 2 turns unless you happen to draw Dark Ritual, or if you need to burn an attacking creature away. But every turn after that, you should be able to play an efficient, versatile, hard-to-neutralize creature. Seriously, every creature in this deck is a problem for your opponent. Phantasmal Fiend and Foul Familiar are nearly unkillable, and they both pack quite a punch in combat. Add in the hard-charging creatures like Abyssal Spectre, Goblin Mutant, and Balduvian Horde, and Richard's going to be in trouble. Yes, the deck takes quite a while to get going, but the Ice Age Alliance's environment isn't a fast one, and every creature in the deck is a valid threat in its own right. In addition, the most of the creatures are solid blockers as well, with the exception of Limdul's High Guard, which regenerates, and Foul Familiar, which I can bounce. Every creature in my deck has toughness 3 or greater. The instants and sorceries in my deck steamroll a path through the opponent's defenses, so my creatures can charge through. Pyroclasm, which destroys none of my creatures, Incinerate, Guerrilla Tactics, Contagion, and Dark Banishing are some of the most efficient removal spells around. Big ol' Soul Burns and Lava Bursts can serve as game enders or removal, and in a pinch, you can finish off an opponent with Incinerate or Tactics. Versatility at its finest. Just a note about the Soul Burn. That is an interesting variant on Drain Life. Drain Life has been around since day 1, and basically it's a black and a colorless, and then you can pay extra black into it to do damage and gain life back. Soul Burn is the same thing, but it takes 3 to get started, so it's less efficient. But instead of just putting black into it, you can also put in red. You just don't gain life for the red you throw in. So it's never been quite as popular. Should we do a weekly story time? Who's loving... Oh, well, that's... yes. This is a rather unique sort of setup. This product, I just find this book to have so much good information in it. I thought it was worth sharing. Anyway.
That's a question.
Did the people actually write these? Because if so, they put some thought into it. Yeah, they each got to do a description of their deck and then a reaction afterwards to what the other person decided, as I recall.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, to add insult to injury, Icy Manipulator can work offensively or defensively, either by getting a blocker out of the way or temporarily spoiling a would-be attacker's fun. Last but not least is Necropotence. The opportunity to once again trade life for cards for only 3 black got me more excited than anything else about this format. I almost included 2 demonic consultations just for some extra necro fun, but I predict Richard will corner the market on quirky stuff. All I know is if the Death Skull, which was a nickname based on its art, finds its way onto the table, we might as well go on to the next game. To review, my deck starts by summoning versatile tough creatures, clears a path using all of its spot removal, and finishes by hurling great balls of fire at its opponent's head. And it prays to draw Necropotence the entire time. Why my deck will beat Richard's? Imagine, if you will, the following scenario. There's a one-on-one basketball game. The contestants, Dr. James Nailsmith and Michael Jordan. Who is Dr. James Nailsmith, you ask? My point exactly. He's the guy who invented basketball in 1891.
Naismith, not Nelsmith.
Sorry, Naismith looks a little... sorry.
It's Naismith. I was like, that
okay.
Sorry.
It's the book that came with this product. Yeah.
Cool.
Now, who are you going to bet on? For anyone out there who doesn't think the odds like Mike, I have this bridge in Brooklyn I'm looking to unload. Richard's created one of the greatest games of all time, and I respect him immensely. For that, heck, if we were going head-to-head in a game designing contest, I would even bet against me. Luckily for me, however, we are having a Magic playing contest, and playing Magic is what I do best. Here's what's going to happen. All those has-beens and coulda-beens at Wizards R&D are going to throw so much advice at Richard, most of it wrong, useless, or contradictory, that they're going to do more harm than good. Meanwhile, Richard is going to want to win, but also have fun. Now, I'm all for fun myself, don't get me wrong. However, I like to have fun by winning, not by playing with cute little elves or something. Richard might even play those little grizzly bear thingies, or whatever the Ice Age version is called. Those bears might even attack me once or twice, but then it's going to be Jordan schooling Naismith for the rest of the match. Of course, there's always the possibility that Richard will try to get tricky. He seems like the kind of person who likes doing things like that, but there's this feeling out there that I like to play blue. And I do, but I like to win even more. So, if Richard gets all crafty with anti-blue cards, he'll have 0% chance of winning, instead of the 15% chance he'll have otherwise. Because there's no way, sitting in Seattle thinking, John is going to play red-black beatdown. Of course, I could still lose. I mean, I might get hit by a bus. I might get a brain tumor, or any number of natural disasters could happen. But don't count on it. And there's him with one of his trophies. And the art from...
Okay, so this Finkel person, was he just a player, or was he involved in making the game at all? Or
No, he was a player who won... Like, he swept all the big tournaments that year.
Okay.
He won the regional tournament, he won the national tournament, and then he won the, world championship.
Okay.
All in 1 year. So, he was pretty good for that time. I don't know how long his career really lasted. And then here's a picture of Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic the Gathering. Ooh ah, ooh ah. They actually made a card based on him as well. And here's the deck he came up with. So he's stuck with red-green. So Finkel predicted that he's going to play Elves and Bears. Look, there they are, the second and third cards on his list.
Welcome in, Matthew.
Yeah. He does have some rather unique choices that I probably wouldn't have done here. Interestingly, those 3 pitch cards like Force of Will, yeah, they feature heavily in this product. Because here we've got... Oh, shoot, where did I see it? You got Bounty of the Hunt for Richard's deck, and Contagion in Finkel's deck. I don't think either of them ran the red one, but that's 2 of them there, and I'm almost certain that if someone had run blue, there would have been Force of Wills in here.
Matthew made a comment there.
I've been playing Magic 20 years on and off. Yeah, so you would have started right around the time this product released, maybe a little bit after. But yeah, like I said, the deck list, the sets that I had to work with were 5 years previous to when they made this product, so there's that too. Magic Gathering is what I started on, then went to Pokemon. What was the first card game I played? It might have been Magic. But yeah, I dabbled in about a dozen different card games, and Magic is one that I've always come back to, basically, from time to time. I have taken a longer-ish break in the last decade or so. So, Richard, why I built this deck and how to play it. When I was first asked whether I would be interested in building a deck to challenge John, my reaction was simple. Absolutely. I can't lose. What did I mean by this? Well, of course I'll lose. But it won't be a real loss, because no one really expects me to win such a matchup. After all, if the inventor of basketball were to take on Michael Jordan in a game of one-on-one, I know where the smart money would be. But if I do win, what a victory! I'll earn endless glory. So, on one hand, I have no real loss, and on the other, I have endless glory. Not bad. I decided to adopt a strategy that turned out to be a little controversial. The first conclusion I came to is that my only real chance for beating John would be to guess what kind of deck he'd play and then build a deck designed to beat it. I call it pre-sideboarding. My second conclusion came from the matchup's unique metagame. I figured out that I could set up another win-win situation. I could build a deck full of cards that would normally be bad choices, such as main deck color hosers and narrow-use cards, but that would destroy John, provided I guessed correctly at what he would play. By doing this, I'd set up a gambit that Wizards of the Coast R&D had to address. If I was right about John's deck, my color hosers and conditional cards would make it seem like I had read John's mind. And if I guessed incorrectly what John would play, Wizards would have to step in and make me change my deck. Otherwise, they'd end up with a product that players wouldn't like at all. Devious, but brilliant. The next step was to determine what John would play. Not an easy task. Wizards chose a card pool they thought would give challenge to John and me equally. Ice Age and Alliances. Given the cards from those sets, as well as Wizards' reprint policy, I concluded that John would have to play a two-color deck. There simply aren't enough cards of any one color in this environment to build a strong monocolored deck. I also ruled out white, which doesn't have a whole lot to offer in reprintable common and uncommon cards. That left me with a 50% chance of guessing one of the colors he would play. I consulted the rest of Wizards R&D, of course, about what they thought John might play, but as I expected, I got lots of different answers. Some, like Randy Buehler and Worth Wolpert, were absolutely positive John would play blue. Until they're banned, he'll use islands in every format he plays, they said. And I knew there were enough quality blue cards available to support a solid blue deck, with some help from a second color, probably red. But others, including Michael Donnaise, thought John wouldn't necessarily choose blue. He would just build the strongest all-around deck, regardless of his own color preferences. Funny thing is, they both talked about MJ in their writings.
Michael Jordan.
Yes. This seemed like the more realistic opinion to me. But since blue seemed as good a choice as red, or black, or green, I settled on my guess. John will play a blue deck, probably with red or black as a second color. My next task was to build a deck that would beat blue. Michael Donnaise built the best blue deck he could for the format, which for him meant blue-red deck. My first attempt was a really fast beat-down deck that would overrun the slow reactive counter-burn strategy. But there just aren't enough aggressive Ice Age and Alliances weenies to make that kind of deck work. I also knew that playing blue would be like challenging John on his home turf. So I swung to the opposite extreme. All the huge green creatures I could get my hands on, with plenty of red control spells to back them up. Testing revealed the big creature approach was pretty strong. The fact that John and I could use only 2 of any card meant that he couldn't load up on Incinerates or Pyroclasms, which makes the gigantic Yavma Ancients and the wily Walking Wall tougher to exterminate. I also decided to put in some artifact-destroying spells, as I was all but positive I would encounter some Phyrexian war beasts and icy manipulators. Then, true to my initial strategy, I put in a bunch of cards to hose blue, including Pyroblast, Burnout, and Thought Leech. The gist of the deck's concept is dead simple. Drop creatures as fast as you can, and use the red spells to clear the way for them to attack. Most of the creatures in the deck have such a high toughness that red burn spells won't kill them, and you'll win most ground battles when push comes to shove. What happens if the game stalls out before your big creatures can stomp your opponent? My deck has a few answers to that question. First, nothing beats reusable direct damage. So to milk those death sparks for all they're worth, try to attack or block in such a way that if you lose a creature, it will plop down right on top of a death spark in your graveyard. Second, Ilkin Bottle can give you enough card advantage to break through a stalemate. It also skirts that pesky only 2 of a card rule. Finally, there's Jokel Hopes. If you draw this bomb, wait patiently until your opponent overextends, then reset the board and march towards victory. Endless glory, here we come. The plot thickens. You'll never guess what happened. Okay, maybe you will. The powers that be decided that neither John or I would be permitted to play color hosers. John didn't seem to mind this decision in the least, which implies either that he built his deck without considering the metagame at all, or that he anticipated that I would assume he's playing blue. If he has foreseen that I would choose an anti-blue strategy, his best bet would be to build the best non-blue deck he could. And although the banning of color hosers affects 6 cards in my original deck, I was prepared for this contingency. I submitted my Plan B deck, which replaces 2 Burnouts, 2 Pyroblasts, and 2 Thought Leeches, with 2 Giant Growths, 2 Giant Trapdoor Spiders, a Hurricane, and a second Walking Wall. These changes maintain the deck's overall effectiveness, although if John plays blue, it will obviously be slightly weaker. In fact, the 6 changed cards make the deck tighter overall. Testing of the Plan B deck revealed the changes give it a bit more focus and effectiveness in combat. Yeah, Giant Growth is a pretty strong card, to be honest, as far as combat tricks go, or getting in extra damage if you just need to do that. There's a nice black and white version of the Pillage artwork.
I did find a little bit about what
Some hands.
career was.
Oh, his career after this?
Mm-hmm.
So what did you find?
Well, he eventually got into poker. And in 2021, he was a treasurer of a board of directors of Games Helping Gamers,
Okay.
a non-profit organization that assists aspiring college students who play Magic the Gathering, awarding them with scholarships.
Oh, nice.
And then it goes over what his career as a MTG player was.
Okay.
So. No, you're
Can
supposed to be in bed.
I have
No, you should be in bed.
So here's briefly
Maybe tomorrow. Go to bed.
some of John Finkel's stats. His rank, he got first in the Grand Prix in 97-98 and the Pro Tour that year.
Downstairs.
No.
He got, again, 97-98, the Worlds. The next year, Grand Prix, he won again. Then, not until 99-2000, he won the Grand Prix and Nationals and the Worlds. And then 2000-2001, an Invitational he won. He had some other, top 8 finishes right through. And then in 2008, he won a Pro Tour again. So he had a fairly long career. 2017-18 was his last Pro Tour win. So, yeah, he definitely had some success over a fair amount of time. Alright. Whoops. Here's Garfield's deck. Analysis of the decks. Both Richard and John have built pretty good decks given the parameters and rarity restrictions we set for them. They both realized early on that they should play red, which has the best removal in the environment. Both players decided to play as many Incinerates and Lava Bursts as they could, 2 each. which is no surprise given their versatility and power level. They also both chose the common creature Storm Shaman, which seems weak until you realize that its 4 toughness puts it out of range of Incinerate and other cheap red burn spells. Both players also went with Phyrexian Warbeast, which is undoubtedly a good card, but costs you a land when it leaves play. The Warbeast can backfire if it's played early and then gets banished or shattered. In the slower Ice Age Alliance format, losing even one land can really trip you up. Both decks contain expensive creatures and spells with X in their casting cost, which means they need a boatload of mana to work at peak efficiency. John decided to run black as his second color. Just a second here. What's this? So do you have all this vintage MTG laying around, or do you find and buy it? I don't have tons, but I do have a collection that dates back to a little bit before I started playing, because I always tried to trade for older stuff and trade up where I could. But this is something that I bought when it came out, this actual Deckmasters product, and really enjoyed it, and it's been sitting on a shelf for a while, and I just thought it would be fun to share. John decided to run black as his second color. That means using Dark Banishing and Soulburn, both of which are excellent in this environment. Dark Banishing complements Incinerate well, and it will let John destroy big creatures outright and save his Incinerates for the smaller ones. Black also provides Dark Ritual, which could be huge for John if he can play a first turn Warbeast or a second turn Abyssal Spectre with the aid of Dark Ritual. Richard will be wrecked unless he can find an Incinerate or some other answer in short order. Later on, Dark Ritual can provide extra boost for Lava Burst or Soulburn finish. What's more, John has an interesting little trick in his deck, a single Underground River, to switch the power and toughness of his Phantasmal Fiends. Only time will tell if its inclusion pays off. That's the pick I thought was a waste of a rare for him, to be honest. Richard chose green for his second color, which gives him access to high toughness creatures that can survive John's red burn spells. He also gets some fast mana, though not as fast as Dark Ritual, in the form of Finehorn Elves. If they can avoid Incinerate and Pyroclasm, they'll help Richard bring those giant Yavimaya Ants and Ancients into play faster. Richard's deck also has a few countering spells that should help. Well, not actual countering spells, but Richard's Giant Growth and Bounty of the Hunt can save his creatures from many of John's 8 direct damage spells. Finally, if a creature stalemate builds up, Richard has made an interesting choice to break through it. Elvish Bard, which has a built-in lure. The turn after it comes into play, John could be staring at an attacking horde big enough to end the game. And then John's comment on Richard's deck. And there's the other picture of him. After looking over the deck Richard built, I am now more confident than ever that I simply can't lose. As I predicted, Mr. Garfield, I understand. I love seeing all the cards I grew up playing with. I was just wondering. Yep. No hurt to ask questions. I like getting questions. But yeah, this starts to show his overconfidence, I think. Anyway. After looking over his deck, I'm more confident than ever that I simply can't lose. As I predicted, Mr. Garfield is playing a deck with those cute little green creatures. I have a theory that explains all this. I believe Richard must have looked at the pictures on the cards he decided to play rather than the actual text. I mean, those Finehorn Elves look mighty tough with those knives and maniacal grins. And Folk of the Pines, well, like Disco, some things may just never be understood. Some folks might question the usefulness of my Pyroclasms, Orcish Cannoneers, and Guerrilla Tactics against the deck with only 6 creatures with toughness 2 or less. Luckily for me, those folks would be wrong. The cannoneers and tactics will almost always serve to finish off a creature after it does battle with one of mine, and because almost every creature in both decks has a toughness slightly higher than its power, I'll rarely be forced to trade two of my creatures for one of Richard's. The Pyroclasm will be a little more difficult to use, but I give my personal guarantee that I'll set Richard up for at least one really devastating Clasm, probably two. My favorite thing about Richard's deck, however, is how few cards I truly need to fear. I want to thank Richard for not playing Orcish Lumberjack, Shambling Strider, or Jolthall Worm, or the really annoying Gorilla Chieftain. In this environment, you can't play enough quick, efficient creatures to overwhelm your opponent. So larger, more powerful cards that become better. In the end, though, I'll win because my cards and creatures do more things. I have flying creatures, large, cheap creatures, and more removal spells. All Richard has is varying degrees of fat. Allow me to illustrate the superior versatility of my choices. I have Icy Manipulator. Richard has Walking Wall. I have Dark Banishing. Richard has Giant Growth. I have Abyssal Spectre. Richard has Giant Trapdoor Spider. And the finishing touch, I have Necropotence. And Richard has Elkin Bottle. Elkin Bottle? Maybe there's some parallel universe in which that's the right choice. Or Elkin Bottle could be a highly underrated card, ready to dominate the extended format for the next 5 years. Perhaps Richard sees something in the rest of Magic community has been overlooking for years. But as the great Wesley Snipes once said, always bet on black.
Oh my goodness.
Nevertheless, I'd like to wish Richard the best of luck. Quite frankly, he's going to need it.
Back when Wesley Snipes was like probably one of the top actors.
Okay, I don't know who he is, so... Sorry, I'm not up on actors. I never have been, really, outside of a very small handful. And here's Richard's comments on John's deck. As I mentioned, I was forbidden from using my pre-sideboarded deck, the one that contains 6 anti-blue cards, and my strategy paid off. John didn't play blue. Blade, Papa Spocat.
Did you never watch Blade?
I did, but I never knew the actor's name.
No, you do.
Okay. He's the star, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. My strategy paid off. John didn't play blue. In fact, I'm told that he predicted that I would guess that he would play blue, and so he decided to play black and red instead. I really don't know if I could have played the metagame any better. I didn't know about John's proclivity for blue until I heard it from the developers. For each person that said he'd play blue, there was another who said he'd just play the best. So I had a 50-50 chance of guessing correctly when I guessed that his deck would contain blue. I lost this coin toss. It wasn't an entirely a fair flip. I manipulated the situation a bit to minimize the damage. I may still have guessed what John would play blue even without listening to the people who said he would, because I did predict he would ignore me in his deck building choices. A really poor prediction, considering how much Magic is about the metagame. Okay, it's not as good with actor names either. I only know a few. That's a lot of people, I think. My biggest mistake, though, was not anticipating red. I practiced against a blue-red deck, and I was torn between green-red and black-red. How could I have missed it? Red has so many removal spells in this environment that it's just too good not to play. In hindsight, I wish I had built a blue-red deck. Yeah, that could have been fun, too, if he'd gotten the blue in there. Anyway, regrets aside, my deck turns out to be well-matched against John's black-red control-oriented deck. My high-toughness creatures will stretch his removal spells to their limits, although those 2 dark banishings will be a thorn in my side. My Death Sparks will really pull their weight, though, considering John's deck contains several creatures with only 1 or 2 toughness. Good old spiders will keep the specters at bay, and my artifact destruction spells sure look pretty good against his 4 artifacts. If I can't ice the icy manipulators, they will give me problems. 1 mana to tap my biggest creature is bad news. I probably should have played them myself, but I didn't think they would be great against the blue deck I had anticipated. John has failed to take one thing into account, though: my Jedi powers. He will be so blinded by my genius that he'll forget to play his good cards, and in the meantime I'll walk all over him with big, dumb green creatures. And if he manages to win by some fluke, how smug can he justifiably be? After all, he's the world champ, and I'm not even in the Pro Tour. Analyzing the matchup. Much to the surprise of some other folks in R&D, John and Richard's deck-building skills have turned out to be fairly evenly matched. Both have cards in their decks that could end the game quickly, if played at the right time. Make no mistake, I think John has the edge on Richard when it comes to actual gameplay. But, if he's not prepared for some of Richard's surprise cards, he could be caught like a deer in the headlights. Besides, I've got to root for the home team. If John isn't ready when Richard's Yavma Ants hits the table, he could get completely steamrolled. Richard should wait to play the Ants until John is tapped out, so that he can get at least 1 attack through before John can untap and fry the Ants with Incinerate or Guerrilla Tactics. Such a play means the difference between trading the Ants for a creature kill spell and trading them for the same spell plus 5 damage. And if Richard happens to play the Ants when John has no removal spells, the game will be over in the blink of an eye. But what if Richard can't roll out his big creatures fast enough? The backup plan centers around Yokel Hopes. I used to say Jackal Hops. I think it's Yokel Hopes. Yeah, I'm Scandinavian, I believe. Anyways, John has no fewer than 4 spells in his deck with X in their casting cost, which means he'll have to play every land he draws to take full advantage of them. A well-timed Yokel Hopes could allow Richard to reset the board and leave John in the dust. The only defense John has against such a play is to hold land cards in his hand so he could recover quickly. But if he does that, he'll be slowing himself down. Richard, on the other hand, can probably afford to hold back lands a bit more than John can. He could conceivably have 2 or 3 land cards ready to drop when the Yokel Hopes resolves. Deathspark could end up being the MVP in this matchup. Not only can Richard play it to deal lethal damage to the 4 creatures in John's deck that have 1 toughness, he can also play it to finish off a creature that took some damage in combat from one of John's own pyroclasms. The recursion aspect of Deathspark shouldn't be underestimated. Richard can whittle away at John's life total by playing the spark each time one of his creatures is about to be put into his graveyard. Sure, it's only 1 damage each time, but if 10 of Richard's creatures are destroyed over the course of the game, a single Deathspark could erode John's life by half. At first I questioned Richard's choice to run main deck Pillage and Shatter, but to his credit, both cards have turned out to be good choices. John's deck contains 4 artifacts, 2 Icy Manipulators, and 2 Phyrexian War Beasts, so Richard's artifact removal will almost always get played if drawn. In fact, John should think twice about playing an early War Beast. Normally, the War Beast is strong against red, because it often takes 2 red burn spells to destroy it. But if Richard destroys it with Shatter or Pillage, when it tries to attack, John's mana development will be painfully stunted, and Richard will gain card advantage. Lastly, Pillage could put John's single Underground River on ice, which would prevent the phantasmal fiends from getting uppity. It's tough to say which player has the long game advantage. Both players have some great late game cards that could turn the tide. John has a handful of X spells that don't just threaten Richard's biggest creatures, but also his scalp. If Richard dips down to 5 or 6 life, Soul Burn or Lava Burst could wrap it up. And then there's Necropotence. Early on, Necropotence is undeniably good, but Richard's Yokel Hopes and Red Burn spells make Necro more than a little risky to play. Later on, if Richard sweeps the board clean with Necro on the table, John would have to pay life for the cards needed to recover. Richard's Elkin Bottle will give him card advantage without Necropotence's risks late in the game. It's cheap to activate and can add a card to his hand each turn. Richard's Lurgoyf could be a game ender if John is caught without one of his 3 answers for it: Dark Banishing, Icy Manipulator, and Limdul's High Guard. But Yokel Hopes is his best late game card. If Necropotence will win games for John in the mid-game, Icy Manipulator will do so in the longer game. This incredibly versatile artifact can stop Richard's biggest creature from attacking the turn after turn, or can tap one of his blockers so John gets a creature through for that last critical bit of damage. And because it's an anti-artifact artifact, it's tougher to destroy than a creature. If John plays an Icy, Richard will certainly be praying to draw one of his artifact removal spells. Overall, I'm looking forward to the results of this match as much as anyone. Neither player has dropped the ball in deciding what's good enough to go into his deck, so I think the winner will be the one who just plain outplays his opponent. Like I said, as I recall, the actual match came down to some, drawing gas at the right time as well. And then we've got some features on some of the highlight cards that came in this product. Not all cards are created equal. Here you'll find a closer look at some of the MVPs. So, first highlight is the Necropotence. The almighty Necropotence. Perhaps no other card rode the bleeding edge of brokenness for so long. Would you trade 7 life for 7 cards? For years, the resounding answer from players has been yes. Whether it's been part of a speed deck designed to refill your hand on turn 2, or a combo deck with Donate and Illusions of Grandeur. In fact, the better part of the 1996 tournament season was dubbed Black Summer simply because of the complete dominance of Necrodecks. When the Ice Age set was first released, the Magic community was in its childhood. Exchanging strategies and deck lists over the internet was just then becoming commonplace. One could argue, in fact, that Necropotence is the measuring stick of that community. When it was first released, the average player didn't take much notice of it. But pockets of competitive players saw its power, and about a year later, Necro's potence was common knowledge. It's really neat to see each of their thought process into making... Yeah, I think so. Balduvian Horde. I thought this was an interesting pick. It is an efficient creature, but it gives the opponent a chance to 2-for-1 you. And this card was so overhyped when Alliances first came out, and yeah, it never really fulfilled what was thought that it might have been. I love Magic because it makes you think more than Pokemon sometimes, but that could also be because I had a stepdad that loved MTG, not Pokemon. Yeah, it does have more strategy aspects to it than Pokemon, or a lot of card games in my experience. I don't think it's the most deep in that sense, but it certainly has a good balance of easy to play and lots of strategies. Balduvian Horde. No, it's not Jazam the Jinn. But Balduvian Horde was the first to be called by some the new Jazam. Besides being one of the first cards to have a come into play effect, although it's a drawback, the Horde was simply a good deal for a fast red deck that would soon be springing into being. A 5/5 for 4 mana is exciting in any color, or at least it was at the time. Now it's probably pretty blah, but at the time that was exciting. For red, which usually lacks cheap big creatures, it's even more solid. The cost of randomly discarding a card could be reduced with smart setup, or at least by playing precious burn spells quickly. See, that was one of the biggest drawbacks to me. Discarding a card is bad. Discarding a card at random is worse, because you can't protect your better cards at all, and more than a couple of times, the key card that I was most hoping to rely on in the future was the one that would disappear on me. So, yeah. That was one of the big stumbling blocks of Balduvian Horde to me, was that it was random. In your opinion, what card game is the most strategic? It really depends on your play group. There's so many options and nuances in some of these card games. And as time goes on, they tend to build complexity. Out of the gate, Middle-earth was just so complex. Star Wars and Star Trek, by the time you get into later sets, both had quite a lot to offer as well. The most complex. The most strategic.
That will obviously be out of your experience.
Yeah, with my experience. Card game. Specifically card game. It's tough. I mean, I guess Magic is up there. But it's strategic on different levels because, again, as this illustrates, the deck building process is also a heavy part of the strategy. And so that's certainly a factor as well in a lot of games. I don't know if I could pick one, to be honest. But Magic is certainly up there. But those are the ones I mentioned. Middle-earth, Star Wars and Star Trek, CCGs. I'd say they're both pretty good for strategic options too, once you get a good handle on them anyway. Icy Manipulator. I remember when this was first printed in Ice Age, people in my area were so excited and really wanting to get their hands on one. At first, it was a $10 uncommon when Ice Age first came out. That dropped off fairly quickly after, anyway, whatever. Icy Manipulator. When Icy Manipulator reappeared in the Ice Age expansion after getting dumped from the base set, it incited both cheers and disappointment from players. Players cheered the return of the popular powerful artifact that left print in the Unlimited edition. Disappointment came from most players with the Ice Age art, which showed a weird machine made out of bones and gears. The original illustration was a Douglas Schuler piece, probably based on the famous self-portrait by artist M.C. Escher. It was well loved by Icy fans, so this new strange art was a little off-putting. Nevertheless, the return of Icy Manipulator, one of the key cards in the prison deck, was largely welcomed. The ability to tap any creature, artifact, or land for just 1 mana of this kind, is just as powerful now as it was when it was first printed. Whether it looks like a crystal sphere or the bone crank, its effects were so versatile and game-swinging that just seeing it in play will always be a relief for its controller. Lurgoyf. And again, this product coming years later was still well before Tarmogoyf came out. Ach, Hans, run! It's the Lurgoyf. Come on, who doesn't know this flavor text by heart? It's probably one of the most popular pieces ever written, and it's definitely a reason why Lurgoyf is so darn cool. Another reason is that it can be massively huge. It's often used to recover from a wrath of God or a perish, and it can really punish an opponent who's been countering all your creatures all the time. Watching it get stronger as you destroy opposing creatures is just icing on the cake. So what is a Lurgoyf exactly? The answer? Just what's on the card. There's really no such creature in any mythology. The name was chosen because it sounded Nordic and looked cool. As for what happened to Hans, we get one possible hint in the flavor text for Revenant, a Lurgoyf wannabe. Otherwise, we assume that he, like many players facing Lurgoyf, didn't live to tell the tale. I'm here. Ooh, is this story time with beautiful Beardman? Well, thanks for the compliment again.
Kinda.
Well, sort of. I'm just going through the product book that came with the Deckmasters, just because I find there's a lot of neat information in it, particularly the deck building stuff, but these card highlights are interesting too. Lurgoyf, in particular, with a casting cost of 4 and the ability in the late game to be even bigger than Earn and Jin, without having to worry about the downside at that point. Yeah, it was a strong card in its day. It's definitely been outshone since then. But again, power and toughness based on the number of creatures in both graveyards, certainly, or all graveyards in a multiplayer deck, multiplayer game. Yeah, it can be get quite big. Anyway, Yokel Hopes or Jackal Hops, depending how Yokel Hopes we'll go with. My brother had one of these in the first starter deck that he ever got, and we didn't understand it well at the time. I think I've said that before. Why would you play a card that destroys your own stuff? It must be meant for just your opponent. Yeah, we were wrong, but it's still a strong and strategic card. Anyway, reset buttons are just plain fun. There's a certain appeal to playing one card and watching the whole game blow up. Yokel Hopes. Here we go. Pronounced Yokel Hopes. It is easily one of Red's best mass destruction cards. Its ability to sweep the board of everything except enchantments is made it an instant favorite. Your opponent has played tons of small creatures to overrun you. They're all gone. Your opponent is holding a handful of counter spells. This doesn't get countered. If this doesn't get countered, they'll be in a hand of unplayable spells. Almost every strategy your opponent can conceive of is toast without their precious permanents. And with preparation, your quick recovery guarantees their defeat. Sup, I'm having a good one now that I'm here. Thanks. Okay, yep. Nice to see everybody. Absolutely. Unlike Lurgoyf, Nordic, a Nordic sounding word that's made up, Yokel Hopes is a real Icelandic word. It means exactly what is depicted on the card. A tidal wave that forms when a glacier wall breaks, freeing massive amounts of melted snow and ice trapped on the other side. Very flavorful for Ice Age. Death Spark. I've tried to make good use of Death Spark. It can be done, but it's tricky. Yeah, I think it's the potential is there, but it's so tricky that I think usually it just ends up being disappointing more often than not, to be honest.
I should fire my boss for doing that. Got stuck with overtime in the some of our streams.
Yeah,
We
well,
were also on vacation for part
so
of
have
that
I,
too,
kind of at times as well, and
Yeah.
get sort of pinched. But you got to do what you got to do. Work is important. Death Spark. What mountain-loving player hasn't dreamed of being able to play direct damage spells over and over again? Trying to make this dream come true is one of the biggest Magic card design challenges. It's been tried with Searing Touch. It's been tried with Hammer of Bogradan. But the first one of the but the first and one of the most interesting attempts was Death Spark. With the right timing and a cool head, you could play it many times for little mana. The key is realizing that every creature that goes to your graveyard is another time Death Spark can return. Play it in response to a creature being destroyed, and you'll always have a little bit of instant damage handy for later use. Death Spark is also notable because it was one of the first cards to have an ability while it's in your graveyard. Like Nether Shadow and Ashen Ghoul, this card could pop out under the right conditions to annoy your opponent over and over. Its ability paved the way for future graveyard-related abilities like those of Necrosavant and the Spark's big brother, the Hammer. I wish I was more of a social person. I'd be able to play MTG more. Yeah, social skills are something that I've struggled with at times as well. It helps when you've got something with basic rules that you can socialize around, for sure. Elkin Bottle. This is an interesting choice, for sure. Not a card that I'd seen played much before this deck, to be sure. But again, without the downsides of the Necropotence, I do think it was a decent choice on Richard's part. Elkin Bottle was another card that wasn't given a lot of credit when it was first printed. Why would anyone want to pay 3 more mana to play a card while running the risk of losing it? But like Necropotence, as the concept of card advantage became more widely recognized, the bottle became more widely played. The ability to either thin your deck of unwanted cards or to let you play an extra card each turn proved to be invaluable for decks that need to play lots of spells quickly or to get a specific card as soon as possible. Other much-played variants of this card, such as Temporal Aperture, only proved the worth of the original. By the way, this card's name is based on Klein Bottle, a 3-dimensional version of a Mobius strip that's pretty difficult to create in real life. You can you name the artifact from Weatherlight expansion with a closely related joke? And player bios. John Finkel. Well, I apparently am not too bad at this Magic game. In the year 2000, I was world champion, U.S. national champion, and winner of the Magic Invitational. I also had a few other decent finishes in the Pro Tours. So what about my life outside of Magic? I'm a bit of a dilettante. In my 4th year at Rutgers,
There's a G in there.
Yeah, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and I've majored in just about everything under the sun. I'm studying English now. Usually I do not talk that good and can't write too good either. Luckily, I seem to be improving at a remarkable rate. Besides Magic, my interests are fairly common. I'm a die-hard Eagles fan. There's really no other kind of Eagles fan. I play some basketball, listen to good music, avoid TV, and spend a little too much time on the computer. There are some other things that I love to do, but I don't want to incriminate myself in print. Richard Garfield. I've been creating games since junior high. My most successful game is the first one that I published, a little phenomenon called Magic the Gathering. After Magic was published, I left my career in academics to design and develop games full-time with Wizards of the Coast, Incorporated. Although I spend most of my time working on new games, I still enjoy working on Magic. Once the Magic Pro Tour started, I realized I would no longer be among the best players, so I began to focus on less common forms of Magic play, such as Schizo Sealed and Big Magic. Big Magic is played only with oversized cards, and I am the reigning world champion in this format. Don't be fooled by my casual misinterpretations of the Magic timing rules and my selective memory about how cards change during development. I miss nothing.
Alias made a comment.
Isn't MTG exactly for that purpose? To force socially shy gremlins out to interact their weird personalities in the hopes that they meet other weird gremlins and have fun gremlinging around with cards? That's part of it. Ooh, Big Magic sounds fun. Yeah, I only ever got 2 Big Magic cards. They came in Scry magazines, and they were also distributed in other types of things. Unlike Pokemon's giant cards, they actually did make basic lands for Magic in those big oversized ones. So you could build decks that functioned. Yeah, I never got any. The 2 cards that I had were an oversized Black Lotus and an oversized Sarah Angel. Not bad cards by any means, but you can't build a deck with 2 cards. So if I ever find them again, they should be somewhere. I have no idea where. I wouldn't mind having them to display at some point.
Can you put them in a binder?
I don't think so.
No?
Not sure where I put them. But I don't think I got rid of them. Yeah, this is just the credits. I'm not going to read that. And questions. Okay, well, I'm not going to read that either. So yeah, that's the booklet with all the information that came.
Now to get to the fun stuff, right?
Yeah, I guess. Whoops. So like I said, this product predated the dual decks, but basically that's kind of what it was, except it came in a much, much cooler box and with cooler stuff and a story behind it. But yeah, here's John Finkel's deck. There's the Bolivian Horde. Gotta discard. This is one of the few of the 8 rares that actually came from alliances. Almost all the rares and all the cards they decided to foil for this product came from Ice Age, which was a bigger set. But I think it's partially because most of the alliances cards quickly found their way, the rares anyway, quickly found their way onto the reserved list. There's the Goblin Mutant from the poster. So for 4 mana, you got a 5/3 trample. And Goblin Mutant can't attack if defending player controls an untapped creature with power 3 or greater. And it can't block creatures with power 3 or greater. So it's sort of like Org, which I liked from Fallen Empires, except costs 1 less and actually has a fairly... Like Org is a 5 for a 6/6. This is 4 for a 5/3. It still packs a punch, don't get me wrong. But, yeah. And like I said, at the time, it was about the biggest thing you could get for a goblin. So, Pyroclasm, famous for a long time. I don't know if it's still currently around much, but for years and years, this was a staple card for tournaments. 2 damage to each creature for 2 mana. Great for controlling like weenie strategies that put out lots of small creatures or tokens. Abyssal Spectre, not as efficient as Hypnotic Spectre, but the same general idea. Costs 4 for a 2/3 instead of 3 for a 2/2. Flying, and when it deals damage to a player, that player discards a card from his hand. But unlike the Hypnotic Spectre, they get to choose. It's not a random card, which does make, again, a big difference. Swamp, Incinerate. Limdul's High Guard, first strike and regenerate. It can be quite annoying. It is small by today's standards at a 2/1 for 3. I like this art on this swamp. I always have. It's one of the more realistic looking swamps, I think. Anyway. Contagion. Again, here's the black pitch spell from Alliances. 5, where you can pay 1 life and remove a black card in your hand from the game rather than paying its casting cost. Put 2 -2/-1 counters distributed as you choose on 1 or 2 target creatures. So you can sometimes kill 2 things with it, or you can really hobble something and kill something else. Or yeah, it can be nasty. I know a lot of people who used this card and got good use out of it. First strike was the bomb. Double strike was epic. Yeah, this was before Double Strike came around. The Phyrexian War Beast. A little risky. Artifact creatures are easier to remove, being susceptible to creature removal or artifact removal, basically. But 3 for a 3/4 was quite efficient at the time, and again, if it leaves play, sacrifice a land, and it deals 1 damage to you. So the downside was definitely real, but you didn't have to worry about it up front. It was only after it was removed that you had to worry about the downside. So there's that. There's the Orcish Cannoneer. Basically, this is Orcish Artillery from the base set, just reskinned for Ice Age. And you get your 3 for a 1/3 that you can tap to do 2 damage to target creature or player and 3 damage to you. So, if you can afford to pay the life, you can be pretty strategic with this card, but you don't want to be doing it every turn, that's for sure. Good old Dark Banishing. Destroy target non-black creature. Can't regenerate. Yeah, Double Strike is pretty strong. Foul Familiar. 3/1 for 3. Can't block. But you can pay 1 black and a life to return Foul Familiar to its owner's hand. So, yeah, if it's gonna die, you can keep it around. Again, that's another problem with Finkel's deck, I think, is that it's too reliant on things you have to pay life for. So, like the Cannoneers hurts you. This you have to pay life for. Necropotence you have to pay life for. You can get yourself in a low life situation pretty easily, and then Garfield does have burn spells. So, overall, I think the matchup does actually favor Garfield's deck, believe it or not. Yeah, there's the second Goblin Mutant. There's the Soul Burn, which I was telling you about before.
I think the reason why I didn't really like Magic too much was just because it could be so ruthless, and that wasn't the kind of playing I like to do. So I lost interest because I didn't like that.
Yeah. Lava Burst was Ice Age's version of Fireball or Disintegrate. Deals X damage to target creature or player. If Lava Burst would deal damage to a creature, that damage can't be prevented or dealt instead to another creature or player. So, you can't redirect or prevent the damage from Lava Burst. So, it's a useful sort of secondary ability to have. Just imagine if Taco Bell got Burrito got Double Strike. It already has Menace, Trample, and ooh, yeah. And here's the Phantasmal Fiend that he splashed a Pain Land as one of his rare choices just to be able to use that second ability, maybe. 4 for a 5/1, and you can pay a black to give it +1/-1 until end of turn. Or you can play a blue and another to switch its power and toughness until end of turn. Effects that would prevent that would alter Phantasmal Fiend's alter its toughness instead and vice versa. So yeah, it just inverts what else you were doing, or is a little bit more efficient if you're looking to get a lot of power quickly. It's very similar in effect to what you can just do with black mana anyway. So I really don't think taking one of his rare choices on that was a good selection. And then here is the first foil, the Necropotence. Again, very dominant tournament card for a long time. I've heard people say, not that it comes up in these decks because there's no enchantment removal, but I've heard people say, if your opponent does get this in play, don't destroy it because they'll just fill their hand and you've removed the downside, where you have to pay life after you have this in play to get cards because you skip your draw step. But, yeah, it is so good. There's the other Lava Burst. A few cards, when I went to reassemble this years later, I couldn't find. So I had to include ones from their original printings to fill the missing cards holes in the deck here. So that's why this is an Alliance's Storm Shaman. There was a Storm Shaman, I just can't find my other one. There is no downside to that card. I don't know. Skipping your draw step, I think, is a considerable downside, especially if your life total starts to get low. Which, like I said, he's got a lot of cards in here that can hurt your life total.
I like the snow-capped mountain, like the mountains, snowy mountains.
For the art?
Yeah.
Dark
Actually,
Ritual, standard, very good
that other one that had
card
snow
to just
in
power
it.
things out.
We
Sorry.
skipped through it really quick. It was like this one. I like that too.
Soulburn?
I just like the art in there.
Yeah, Ice Age was great for that sort of snowy theme. I really appreciated that when I first started playing. There's another mountain with some light snow on it. Guerrilla Tactics, Pyroclasm, Sulphurous Springs. Again, the Painlands from Ice Age in general. These were the go-to two-color lands for years. This was the first sort of successful fix, basically, on the original dual lands to make them more fair. And, yeah, these saw quite a bit of play for a long time, and were hovering in the sort of $5 to $10 range as rares. But they've long since been surpassed by all kinds of other double lands and things. Read the fine print. Smothering Tithe will have to cause problems, I guess. Or won't be caused problems, I should say. Yeah, smashing things is no good. You don't want to break things. Icy Manipulator.
Talking about hitting
There were two Icies in this deck, and they, I think the other one I've got is right at the back here. So yeah, they foiled one for this printing. So you got, like I said, 2 foil cards in each deck. But you got the Deckmasters regular uncommon and the Deckmasters foil uncommon. And like I said, I think this was the first time this card was available as a foil. So
you should have had your other one out just to show a comparison to art-wise and differences.
Not a big deal. Scavengers who first found it called it the Bone Crank.
Give the like button a high five.
Right. Icy is a good card, but it's too slow for modern play as I understand it. And, yeah, just 4 into an artifact that doesn't do anything immediately, can be a little disappointing. But there's different combos and stuff you can do with it. There's the other Contagion. There's, only source of blue in the deck. And you have to pay life for it again. And it burned one of his rares. So, yeah, I think you could have found something better. Abyssal Spectre, Storm Shaman. Yeah, these are all doubles at this point. Yeah, different arts. Some of the art in Ice Age was nice. It's not my favorite set for art overall, but there are some really nice ones.
I like the mountains.
Yeah. And like I said, they both came with these boxes. Not sure where the other one is at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I still have it kicking around somewhere. Missing a card. This one too, I always liked.
Tap it and take it out to dinner and walk on the beach.
I like this art. It's got your sort of a mountain in the background too at sunset, but you've got your needle trees, your evergreens, and also some leaf tree in the foreground there with the snow. I think it looks
So,
good.
so who ended up winning the matchup of that?
I think that Finkel did end up beating Richard Garfield.
Okay.
But as I recall, like it was something like in at least one of the games, Richard Garfield just wasn't drawing creatures or something. Like he wasn't getting any good draws for a few turns at a crucial time. I think that's what decided it in the end, which was rather unfortunate in my opinion.
I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was a spider or a little tiny moth, but it was gross.
Yeah.
Landed on my arm. It felt
Bugs,
weird.
surprisingly, are always
Oh, it just felt weird.
a bit gross. So here's one of his big creature selections: 5 for a 2/5. Folk of the Pines,
The
and you can
forest
pay
would look better
2.
if it was on my deck.
I guess. And you can pay 2 to give it +1 attack until end of turn. There's one of his shatters to get rid of those pesky artifacts. The Death Spark, which is one of the cards when I was doing the Alliances set that I had trouble finding a copy of. I don't know why. I'm sure I have some somewhere, but I just couldn't find one. Walking Wall. This was an interesting choice. Walls can't attack, at this time. It is a little bit vulnerable again, being both an artifact and a creature. But you can pay 3 for the 0/6 for 4 to Walking Wall gets +3 -1, so it becomes a 3/5 until end of turn, and may attack this turn as though it weren't a wall. And you can play that only once each turn, so you can't use it to pump up the wall to really strong damage. But you could play it to block with if you can kill something that way, or you can make it a 3/5 to swing with. So it's not a horrible card, but it is a somewhat unusual pick, I would say. Yeah, Folk of the Pines, the art is nice, but reminds me a little bit of the evil queen from the first Narnia book that came out. It is nice. There's the Storm Shaman. Yeah, if you got this product, even though each deck was limited to no more than 2 of a card, you ended up with a play set of Storm Shamans and Incinerates and Lava Bursts. So, yeah, red was quite popular. Yavima Ancients. Ironwood Treefolk from Alpha Beta was the same casting cost for a 3/5. So for this you got 2/7. That 7 is significantly harder to kill. But you could pay green to give it +1 -2 until end of turn. So it could become a 3/5 if you pay 1 green. Or you could swing it if you pay 3 green all the way down to a 5/1 if it's unopposed, and get in some extra damage.
What was the card you were looking for? I know this is probably not in this one, but
Sorry?
what was the card you were looking for? I found some random cards.
What card I was looking for?
You were just talking about it. It was in that deck and you couldn't find
Oh, Death Spark was one of the ones. Anyway,
it. I don't even
I'll have to take a look through that later. Anyway. Or maybe I can take a look through it after I'm done looking through these decks.
Yeah.
Woolly Spider is increasing, the base stats at 2/3 for 3 weren't horrible at the time, but weren't great either. But it was about as good as you could expect for most 3-cost creatures. Yeah, there's a pillage. And it can block flying creatures, which is nice. I mean, it could deal with Hypnotic Spectre fairly easily. Not quite as good against Abyssal Spectre, but cheaper. And whenever Woolly Spider blocks a creature with flying, it gets +0/+2 until end of turn. So this could even hold up something like a Sarah Angel for a while, in theory. There's the Yokel Hopes. I was shocked when I first saw the aftermath of the Yavimaya Valley disaster. The raging waters had swept away trees, bridges, even houses. My healers had so much work to do.
Oh boy.
And there's the Balduvian Bears. Basically, just the Ice Age version of Grizzly Bears. Standard 2/2 for 2. They're a hardy bunch, but I'll still bet they just slept through the worst of the cold times. Reference to bear hibernation. Here's some birch trees with snow. I still think that's
There's some bears in here.
nice.
This pile I'm looking
Giant growth.
Or, no, it's not a bear. Well, it's a bear, but it's not a...
Barbed Sextant. This was probably... I'm not a big fan of this type of card. I don't think he really needed it in this deck. If I had to make a card that I'd suggest he swapped out for something else for Richard Garfield's deck, this might be it. Pay 1 and sacrifice Barbed Sextant. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You know, it's mana fixing cantrip, basically. But I just don't think it really does enough for this deck in only a 2-color deck. I could be wrong, but Hurricane is nice to have as an option. X damage to each creature with flying in each player. Especially when your deck is low on creatures with flying. It's going to be quite efficient. Yeah. This wasn't the first of these specialty products they came out with. I do remember the anthology. I still have a box for it around. That came out... When did that come out? Around the time of Urza's Saga?
These sleeves should be changed.
Yeah, I know. They got dirty and gritty and gross.
Oh, there's a Sarah Angel.
There's the foil Incinerate. Yeah, that's a newer printing of it. Yes, I think toast is an appropriate description. Classic art by Mark Poole. Not as classic as some of his alpha arts, but still, Incinerate. Once they decided Lightning Bolt was too strong, this was the next best thing available for a long time, and saw tournament play for sure. Yokel Hopes is such a peaceful and friendly card. Yep, and it likes to play with Ruck Eggs. I think that's a nice little combo myself, or did at the time. There's Finehorn Elves again, Ice Age's version of Lawn Mower Elves. 1/1 for 1 that you can tap for a green. Despite how much this was mocked by Finkel in his description there, it's a decent card. It helps you ramp. It's a body if you need a body for 1 mana. What do you expect? I mean, it's really not that bad. Classic Jaya. Yeah. Living side by side with elves for so long leaves me with no doubt we serve the same goddess. And there's the Kalpuzian Forest. If you're playing 2 colors and you've got a pain land that can, you might as well throw it in. But, yeah, like I say, I think there was just too much that relied on paying life in Finkel's deck myself. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were good cards, but overkill. This isn't a game of kick the oaf. And there's the good old Yavimaya Ants. I used to have fun with these. Not quite as efficient as Ball Lightning, which is a 6/1 trample haste for 3. You're paying 4 for a 5/1 trample haste. But the fact that it doesn't automatically die, you can keep it around for the next turn for 2 green, or the turn after that again for 4.
Has Thomas seen that card yet? He used to be really into ants.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, basically, you should have something that can gain life. The only thing I remember in his deck that he used to gain life back was the Soul Burns. And Soul Burn, like I say, costs 1 more to get going than Drain Life. And Drain Life will gain you more life if you're mono black. In a black-red deck, yeah, Soul Burn can take advantage of the red to deal more damage, but you're still not gaining more life from it. You're still going to use the red to pay the 2 colorless and the casting cost whenever you can. Oh yeah, I had 2 of these in here. There's the other art on Yavimaya Ancients, which I couldn't find. Another Incinerate. And there's the Elvish Bard, which was mentioned as a potential stalemate breaker. All creatures able to block Elvish Bard do so. So all your other creatures are going to get through, basically.
Peaceful negotiation, just as Black intended. That's what Area said.
Yeah, and there's Bounty of the Hunt. Probably the least used of the Pitcha cards. You can play it for free spells from alliances. But, it could still do a surprise. Choose one target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, or target creature gets +2/+2, and another target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, or 3 target creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. So you can break up the +3/+3 as you like among whichever creatures you like. It is interesting, and it can be used quite effectively at times if it's not expected. But it is a little bit narrow, just being a creature pump for that much mana. And here's the Ulkin bottle, which was the controversial pick for card advantage. Obviously, he wasn't playing black, so he didn't have the choice between this and Necropotence, but that's what the matchup basically comes down to if you're looking for card advantage cards as their main options. So 3 to play, 3 to use, unlike Jumonde Tome from Alpha, which was 4 to play, 4 to use to draw a card. This is 3 to play, 3 to use, and remove the top card of your library from the game face up. Until the beginning of your next upkeep, you may play that card as though it were in your hand. At the beginning of your next upkeep, if you haven't played the card, put it into your graveyard. So, yeah, it forces you to use the card right away, basically, within the next turn, but it makes it playable. The big downside to this is you just paid 3 and tapped this to do that. So you need to have however much mana it costs to play that card available now. If it's a land, you can just play it. But otherwise, you need to have the extra land available. Not bad in the late game, but it's that middle time when you've got this and you could use it, but will you be able to cast whatever it flips? Hard to say. Anyway, there's your foil Lurgoyf. This card was impressive in its day. Lurgoyf's power is equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to that number +1.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah, you don't want to play this really early, but once some stuff has started dying on both sides, in all graveyards, so in multiplayer it gets even crazier typically. It is a nice card. Oh yes, and the giant trapdoor spider. This was one of the cards he substituted for his thought leeches and things, which were... It's not a bad card. 3 again for a 2/3 is about what you'd expect at this time. And you can pay 3 and tap it and remove giant trapdoor spider and target creature without flying that's attacking you from the game. So, at worst it's a Heirloom Minotaur. And at best, you could remove something much more big and troublesome using this. So large and so quiet, a combination best avoided. There's the other bear, there's the other ants, there's the other giant trapdoor spider, the other Phyrexian Warbeast. There's his pillage. Destroy target artifact or land. It can't be regenerated. Sometimes being able to destroy a land in a 2-color against, a 2-color deck, it's just, you only drew 1 of that color this turn. Well, let's get rid of that, so half your cards become useless. It can be just that simple. Or to get ahead on your mana curve. Yeah, I've always been a fan of having a little land destruction available, and Pillage certainly does that nicely because it also doubles as artifact removal. So it's kind of like Disenchant in that way, which is artifact or enchantment removal. It, obviously does cost a little more, but yeah, and that's Richard Garfield's deck. So do we want to try a game, or do we want to...
Oh, I'm too tired.
No, you're too tired to play a game? Alright,
too
well, we'll
tired.
have to...
Oh my goodness,
Armageddon is my spirit. Yeah.
I
Lurgoyf Necrogoyf Green Brother. Yeah, well, they've come up with a whole bunch of different Goyfs since then. Tarmogoyf and Necrogoyf and a bunch of others. But it is a neat concept. Kind of like ATOG. They came up with a whole slew of ATOGs for a while. But yeah, I just really think this was a well put together product. A lot of value, some good solid cards, and just the story to back it up. A little while after this, they came out with the what was it called? Dave got that one. My brother got that one. It was a mace, the icon. Shoot, what was it called? It was anyway. The two face cards on that product were Earnhanded Djinn and a Singular Vampire. So they were popular uncommon creatures available at the time. And like I said, this
switch the cameras on you.
just momentarily, this did become the inspiration for a lot of other similar products that came out later. Namely, I'll just shift this into the camera's view here. The dual decks. And so back when I pieced this back together after years, I also reassembled a bunch of other decks that had picked up over time. So there was Phyrexia versus the Coalition was one set of dual decks. It was a lot of fun. I especially liked the Coalition deck because it came with some of those 6/6 legendary dragons. Elsbeth versus Tezzeret. Oh man, this isn't showing very well from this angle. You had Jace versus Chandra. Izzet versus Gold Gary. These dual decks were Angels versus Demons. You had a lot of different dual decks that were fun to play against each other, a good introductory product, and came with some good solid cards, most of them, that were just fun to get. There were other decks that they made that you could just buy. There's a Graveborn one. And they had ones, speaking of tournament players, they had these gold border decks too. Oh, this is the sideboard end, where you could get gold bordered reprints of decks from tournaments and things. I never bought these myself, but I acquired somebody's collection they were getting rid of at some point, and they had a couple of these, and it was missing a card or two that I had to fill in with copies I owned from elsewhere. But they were a good way for people to get some cards that were hard to find for a while if you didn't mind playing with. See, the backs on these are nasty. They're nothing like a typical Magic card back. Holy cow, that's in there tight.
You want me to try and get one out?
I'll try a different one in a second here. I just like the look of a real card better, personally. They've all got the signature of the person who played it on, so that's kind of neat. And, you know, all these multicolor
Pokemon does the same thing. Like, they take the winning
again,
decks
cards that were missing that I had to fill in.
and make
Cards that were missing that I had to fill in.
make them.
Stink. That was not smart. They've all got these funny World Championships 98, whatever, backs where the tournament was held and different. Some people pick these up to use in their commander decks, and I can understand why. Sort of like getting collector's edition cards and things. But, yeah, I was never a huge fan of these, but they're around too. I did like the dual decks, though, and I found they were a good
What's the one
product
that we...
to get a handle of the game if you just wanted to pick up some ready-to-go decks and teach a friend and learn. Some of them did have a lot of extra special abilities that you had to worry about, though, whereas these early one here, with such a limited format from early in the game, just Ice Age and Alliances, these were really strong decks for learning the game early on, I found. My first dual deck was Nissa versus Obnelix. Yeah, I that's not one I picked up myself, so I don't know it very well, but Usually they were all pretty good. Pretty good products, as I recall. Yeah, Pokemon does that too. It's nice to pick up and just play. It sure is. Then they did a premium deck series. That's what this was one of. The Graveborn. It's about reanimating creatures from your graveyard. They also had like Fire and Lightning and things like that. They were usually good ways to get cards that you might have had trouble finding elsewhere, or just, later they're more into foily and shiny versions of cards and things. So, yeah, there's another. And then I've got some other random decks. Oh, here's a couple of old rule books. I like keeping old rule books around. The rules have changed since then, but I just like to be able to go back, and it was a good quick reference to come with a starter deck. They got an ad for the Duelist, which I don't think exists anymore on the back. Which cover art do you think was better for the Duelist? I think the Jazam Djinn, even though it's been modified, still looks better than these other adventurers over here myself, if I was going to grab a Duelist copy. Whoops, somewhere. Anyway. And then I've got a couple of random decks in here. This was a weird one. I used to just like having fun with elves. And what else are you going to do with all that colorless mana? The right?
The right card, or like the right picture, or whatever you had out.
Yeah. Yeah, the one on my right hand. That's the Jazam one. I think that one looks cooler too. So this was just an elf deck that I was looking for things to do with. Target creature gets +X/+X for end of turn, where X is the number of elves in play. So this was just about getting lots of elves in play. Return a forest you control to owner's hand. Untap target creature. Use this ability only once each turn. This was nice if you like elves. Usually cheap, so you could play less lands and more elves. And if you only have one forest to work with to get you started, tap it, play something, use this ability, return it to your hand. You can play it again and tap it again. So, Sky Shroud could get you your red. This could get you your mana of other colors. And when it comes into play, search your library for an elf card, reveal it, and put that card on top of it. Help you find certain key ones. Warwood Chandler, add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of elves in play. You could get obscene amounts of mana. Add 1 mana for each elf you control. Other elves get, I just threw in all kinds of great elves from I picked up over the years. The first deck like this I remember getting played as just an elf fireball deck. Came out after Priest of Titania came out. And then you had other elves and things to untap it and use it multiple times and just get lots of mana. And then throw a big fireball at your opponent. I think my brother did that before I did. So here's a fireball sort of spell. Vitalize, untap all creatures you control. Just get more mana or more, hey, just attack with an elf and make it huge, If it gets through. Gain life for each elf in play. In case, things are going slow.
Oh my goodness, I'm tired.
I like the little magic symbol on this. I forget. This was another promotional product from somewhere. There's a Russian lawnmower elf, just because. There's the pre-release from 2010, one of the last pre-releases we ever went to. We're getting off topic here. I should... Oh yeah, and what else do you do with lots of colorless mana but play some Eldrazi? Because why not? Where's the Eldamari Lord of Leaves? He might be one of my other elf decks. I don't think he made the cut in this one. I could be wrong. And I just untap target elf. Red Sun Zenith, another fireball type spell. One more elves. Oh, there's Eldamari, Lord of Leaves. There you go. That's the one you were asking about. So, all elves gain Forest Walk and cannot be the target of spells or abilities. So, that keeps them safe from spot removal anyway.
Woohoo!
Another those. These are the arguably the best reason to buy Unglued back in the day, was these funky forests. Well, funky basic lands, I should say. Anyway, that's just a random one of my decks that was in here too. Okay. But basically, this is my box for reconstituted dual decks. And yeah, I just generally liked them as a product. And basically, this Deckmaster deck was a precursor to dual decks in many ways. So that's another reason I really appreciate it.
Do they still do the dual decks now, or not as much?
Anybody appreciate this? This was one of the harder sets to find, Theed Palace, for the Star Wars collectible baseball card game.
From Magic into Star Wars.
Oh yeah, well it just happens to be what was stored in the box here, so it's on the table. In that sense, where's that other pack of random cards you had? Maybe I'll thumb through that.
Yeah, you don't want.
Oh, and there's Bloomburrow. Anyone interested in seeing a Bloomburrow opening? Because we got a couple packs for round three, since round 1 and round 2 got split, and
or do you want
the value boosters and the yeah, here's just a random cards that we found in a baggie. They
were in your drawer and something was leaking in there.
Yeah, something. So
you don't want to show those.
They're
gross.
Well, I want to know what they were. But yeah, ooh, yeah, these got leaked on, and they're all sticky.
The cards might be.
The cards might be. Yeah, Ornithopter's not a big deal. Capricious Ifrit, Emperor of the Sky Ruin is a decent card. Ugh.
Yeah, it's gross.
I want to see what it is. Cliffhanger Behemoth. I think this was good at a time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what was leaking in the drawer, but something was.
Bloomburrow got you sticky, yes, very much so. Anyway. But yeah. This was just a
this isn't Bloomburrow. This is just other cards.
Yeah. Ooh, Weird Harvest. This is a rare. And it's from Onslaught, so let's set that aside because I'm trying to reconstitute Onslaught for next week's Magic stream, if I can get it done in time.
Yeah, we got lots going on. So who is coming to hang out on our 24-hour stream on Thursday and Friday?
Raya. Shape of the Wittigo.
We're starting with Pokemon first in the afternoon and then into Magic.
Sanguine Bond. Humble. Humble was always fun. Target creature loses all abilities and is 0/1 creature until end of turn.
We're starting with Lord of the Rings in the Magic stream, or?
I thought we were starting with Pokemon.
No, I mean in the Magic stream.
Oh,
Magic portion.
Yeah, we'll start with the Magic the Gathering, Tales of Middle-earth, and then we'll go into the Decipher Lord of the Rings card game after that.
Alias. Blasphemy.
Yeah, blasphemy. Well, you know, they're both blasphemous in their way, I suppose, but there is that. They're definitely different.
But the art is nice.
Different takes on Lord of the Rings.
I like the art.
Rewind, Horseshoe Crab, Mana Barbs.
But yeah, we're going to start with opening Lost Origin.
Might of Oaks. I remember when that first came out. It had a picture of a squirrel. Oh, there's a Trinisphere. It's a decent card, although the corner's a little bent. Mind Control. These are still not in the best shape.
I like pizza and pineapple, but not together. Never together.
Another clone.
Well, I used to hate pineapple on pizza, but then we had it at one
Electropotence.
place. It was in Ottawa. Where they put like fresh pineapple on the pizza with some other things.
Yeah.
And it actually was quite good.
Yeah. So this, you can tell, here's an oddity, that copyright date, 1993 to 1998. 1998, this was the lightning bolt that came in that anthologies, that anthologies box that I mentioned earlier. So this wasn't the 4th edition lightning bolt like it might look like at first glance.
It's not my first choice for pizza, that's for sure. But
Planar
it
cleansing.
was done well at that one place.
There's a lot of random stuff here. Armament Master. Other core creatures you control get +2/+2 for each equipment attached to Armament Master. And that could buff your army in a hurry. Gigantiform. Indestructibility. Lifting Refrain. There's an Ice Age rare, I think. Maybe it's an uncommon, I forget. Cryptive Agadine.
Ooh, planar cleansing, my first board wipe ever.
Summoning Trap.
I love that card, says Alias. The
Planar cleansing, yeah. Blade of the Blood Chief. Enchantresses. Oh, come on. Okay, Charger. Flying Hasty Dragon.
So we're gonna find that deck that I made from that tournament
Yeah.
that we went to.
Another Crypt.
I don't know whatever happened to
A
that.
foil Fireball.
Did you steal my cards and incorporate them into yours?
I'm not sure.
The one tournament I went to and the tournament that I did better than you and your brother.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious because I was the least experienced player. Oh my goodness. It was fun though.
Yeah. Certainly fun in its way. This is a really mixed bag of
Oh
stuff.
wait, maybe we did go to two pre-releases.
Wellspring.
Only lived out here.
More Mirage. Oh,
I
Velt.
just can't remember.
Yeah, these came out, there was, the Ice Age Painlands were incredibly successful. And then you had these, the Ice Age Slowlands. They were not successful at all. If are any depletion counters on Velt, it doesn't untap during your untap phase. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a depletion counter. And you can add either of the two colors and put a depletion counter. So every time you use this for one of its two colors, you can't use it the following turn. So these were just called, at least in my play group, the slow lands for my Sage. They never really took off. The Painlands sure did, though.
I wouldn't mind going
Yeah, there's
to...
probably a reason you've never seen them. They're not great. At least other... I think they redid them in Tempest or something, except you could tap it for colorless and it would still untap normally. That's at least better. But, yeah, these weren't good. Miser's Cage.
I wouldn't mind taking the kids to like
Thrumming Stone.
a Pokemon pre-release sometime.
Oh! Duh! This is one of the cards I couldn't find for the Alliances set that I just got in that mail day.
Well.
I knew I had one.
Well, now you have another.
Yeah. There's a Royal Decree. Arcane Denial,
I'd
Tacoma.
have to teach them to
Sleight of Mind.
play basic,
Primitive Justice.
but I'd like to.
Fecundity.
Yeah, so
Whenever a
check
creature is put into a graveyard from play, that creature's controller may draw a card. Could be handy. Another Pillage. Thundering Giant. Carpusian Minotaur. Auk.
Hey Darius, welcome in. How are you doing?
The One Night Stand lands. Yeah, kinda. Krivek's Torch. Interrupts that target Krivek's Torch, cost an additional 2 to play. That's a real pain if you're trying to use a fork to get a second copy, but more often it's a bigger pain to your opponent trying to counterspell it. Or deflect it to a different target or something. Oh, yeah. Subterranean Spirit. Protection from red. That's, unusual on a red creature at the time anyway. Maybe it's become more common. I doubt it. So 3/3 protection from red for 5. And then you can tap it to do 1 damage to each creature without flying. So it's immune to its own damage. But, yeah. It's an interesting oddity, I'll give it that. Lava Ball Trap. There's the Mirage Incinerate. I like the art on that one. Bulwark, Goblin Grenade, Arc Lightnings. This is a really random mix of stuff. Hermetic Study. I remember this was popular for a time in certain combos. Disenchants. Faith Healer. Oh, good old Shield Sphere. Nothing like Free Creature.
I separated a couple cards and they were stuck together.
Shadowy Guildmage. Yeah, some of these are crick. You can.
Yeah.
Ooh. At least they're Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some damage to some of them there.
These are probably my worst taken care of batch of Magic cards that I'm aware of. The kids did get into some of my other. I had a little box set aside with 4 copies of every common from Legends, from the Italian Legends we opened. So it was Italian, but you got 4 of every common in Legends, even if they were Italian, in this one little box.
Think that's mold. That's
and
just,
I think
it got wet and got stuck together. That's
yeah.
what it is.
Archmage's Ascension, Belt Lightcaster, Nature Spiral, another Enchantress. Yeah, I was curious what was in there. This one might be handy. Was this part of this, or was this? Did I already look through that?
I don't know if you looked through that one.
I think I must have. Oh, Jorel Centaur. I think I must have. These are looking familiar. Yeah, they're just on the grittier end of things.
You've got cards everywhere. It's so hard to tell what's...
Yeah, these can go back in their bag so they don't contaminate anything else.
It's like, put them in the bag, throw them in the
We'll do a giveaway for horrible
what's that,
condition cards. No,
what's that,
yuck.
Toxic waste. Throw it in the toxic waste.
Alright, let's grab the Bloomburrow and we'll finish up with round 3 of Bloomburrow openings. Like I say,
We didn't advertise this.
round 1, the,
Sleeps.
the Play Booster one. Round 2, the Value Booster one. So let's see which wins in round 3. It's always fun to do an opening. I'm just the box where I put the other Bloomburrow cards.
Okay.
So that we can
Yay,
see and
Bloomburrow.
compare. If I can find them.
They have those. They're not selling that fast. The Bloomburrow special collection boxes or whatever at Walmart.
I wouldn't think so.
What do they want for like $80 or something like that for them, or 89?
Apparently the set has got like 10 new abilities in it, so it's a little awkward in that sense
Round
too.
3 wins.
If you're gonna get boosters, you usually don't get them at Walmart. You usually get a place that sells boosters.
Yeah.
So, but just to recap, what we got in round 2 and 3 here. Round 2. Where is it? I did put things in sleeves. So in round 1, the Play Booster had a Mythic. And we had no rares or Mythics in the 2 Value Boosters. When we got to round 2, the Play Booster had a regular rare, as you would expect. And the Value Boosters did produce a Mythic. So, basically, round 1 was this. This, nothing. Round 2, this versus that. And so here one. So, this will be our tiebreaker round, and then we'll look at the total for each side, I guess, and see which looks more impressive overall. We did get a couple of other things, like some interesting, couple of uncommon foils and
some neat art.
Neat art foils, but they're not really worth much.
There's the one otter one that was cute.
Yeah, we got the otter card that's from this sleeve here. And I must say, it's neat how they make the packaging for these as basically a cardboard envelope, so it could be reused for shipping or for other things. So I kind of like that as the art for the set. Yeah, Walmart has the best. Well, yeah.
I've gotten a couple.
Sometimes
decent cards
we've
from
gotten
Walmart.
good hits out of things, yes.
Like,
but I mean, it's random packs, so
the
random will be
gold
random.
card from Pokemon
Anyway.
came from Walmart. The Greninja came from Walmart.
Let's move these down and these up. So round 1 again, we got 1 from the play booster, nothing from the other. Round 2, we got a mythic there and a rare there. So let's see what we get for round 3 here. Get my finger in there and just click, and then it'll open. So yeah, it's a nice little envelope again. You get the security tabs on the cheaper one.
Neat. I like that.
And then they just slide the pack in. So honestly, if you're gonna do sleeves like this, I think this is a decent way to do it.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's set this off to the side here.
Pokemon needs to take some hints.
Well, I mean, honestly, they copy each other in terms of marketing stuff.
I like these sleeves though.
So,
I really do.
Here's our value booster number 5 that I've ever opened. And so far, out of the 4 we opened, only 1 has had a rare or higher, and that was that one mythic rare. So I've never pulled a regular rare out of a value booster yet. We'll see if this changes that. So we got a common, Wax Wayne Witness,
You look at that.
a
you're
Bat Cleric.
paying for cardboard you won't even use. Well, we might. We might.
We might. Because, yeah, sometimes we're looking for
Something to protect cards to mail.
a good packaging option if we're mailing out prizes to people and stuff. So,
Yeah.
if you get Pokemon cards and they come in a Bloomburrow Magic the Gathering pack, you'll understand why now. There you go. Yeah, it's a 7-card pack, which I found really weird too. I talked about that more in the first video. Cheaper packs and smaller packs historically came in 8-card packs, like Fallen Empires and Homelands. It disappoints me that when they went back to try to do this again, first of all, they're not as cheap as they used to be, obviously. They were never going to be. But 7 cards does... It probably is done to match up with the now 14 cards for the more regular play boosters, which replaced, set and draft boosters. So, go figure. Anyway, Wax Wayne Witness is a 4-cost, 2/4 Flying Vigilance Bat Cleric. And whenever you gain or lose life during your turn, it gets +1 attack. Looks playable to me, but then again, I'm so out of date. Dagger Fang Duo. 3 for a 3/2 Rat Squirrel. Death Touch. I think I've had this before. The duo, when it enters play, you may mill 2 cards. You may. You may put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. So should we act now or later? The rat asked. Both, whispered the squirrel. Take out the trash. Take out the trash does 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you control a raccoon, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card.
I like that art.
That's kind of neat. Disgusting. Revolting. Effective. Raccoons like trash. It's true. Patchwork Banner. 3 cost. Patchwork Banner enters. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. And you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So, that's interesting. It's a stone to buff your squad if you're playing a tribal deck, and a mana rock combined. I could see that maybe being useful. It's an uncommon. Ryan has a point, but what if they earn enough and develop other unhealthy habits, like collecting Gunpla, action figures, or more card games. Yeah, there is that. Get your kids into Magic or Pokemon. They'll never have money for drugs. Yeah, well, they certainly can be expensive hobbies. Fortunately, I've got more than enough Magic cards that I don't really need to buy anymore. And I rarely do, to be honest, with the exception of the Magic the Lord of the Rings set. That was really the only set I got into in any major way. These will probably be my last Bloomburrow packs once we have a tiebreaker for this, because it is a neat set, but it's not a set I want to get into heavily.
No, if we want any of the art cards because they're nice, we might just grab
Harvest Host. No, Harvest Right Host. It's a rabbit citizen. 3 for a 3/3, and when another rabbit you control enters, target creature you control gets +1 attack until end of turn. Then draw a card if this is the second time this ability is resolved. So, and now we have
what? It's Fallout.
Nice. It's a full art rare, so it is a rare. So this puts the value booster on the board for sure. For the common good. Pulled like 10 raised foils in 20 collectors. Is that good? New to Magic. I'm out of touch with modern Magic, so not sure. Double X is usually a little steep. 1 green double X. Create X tokens that are copies of target token you control. Then tokens you control gain indestructible until your next turn. You gain 1 life for each token you control. I mean, it does stuff. It does make tokens. And there's your basic full art mountain.
I like that card.
That is nice art. Little waterfalls there, which is strange for a mountain, but
I like that too. I'm going to put that
bit of a chasm with a raccoon archer. And
I like that art.
We got a token.
I like
Token creature, mouse soldier. Valiant.
We probably don't need to put that one in sleeve, but I like it.
We didn't need to put the mountain in the sleeve either.
But I don't care. I liked it.
But yeah, there we go. The value boosters are definitely on the board with that.
Anime raised foils, the gold bordering ones.
So I'll just...
I don't know. We don't really know enough about the...
Put that down here. If you want to look this up to see if it's worth more than $1, that would be handy. Sure. For the common good.
Alright.
And then we'll open our second value booster here. I know the one Chatterfang is like $300. Well, yeah, probably. The collector boosters are always, they've got premium versions. And so they tend to have more expensive cards in them for sure. But you're paying, hundreds of dollars a box, and you only get 12 packs in a box. So I'm not...
It's $1.50.
Huge fan of that. Well, it's something anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's Canadian.
It's a rare.
It's just at a card shop that we shop at.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at anything here.
So we'll just use that price as a guide to see which side wins this round. And then maybe get an idea for overall. I think the most valuable card we pulled in any of these, even the mythic rares, were only like $3. The most expensive one was like $3. So we haven't pulled anything super good anyway. Glide Dive Duo. 3/3 flying. When Glide Dive Duo enters, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Okay, so they put a Siphon Soul on a 3/3 flyer for 5. That's interesting. Bat Lizard. Steam Path Charger. Lizard Warlock. 2/1 for 2. Offspring 2. You may pay an additional 2 as you cast this spell. If you do, this creature enters, create a 1/1 token copy of it. And when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to target player. Druid of the Spade. 2/3 for 3. As long as you control a token, Druid of the Spade gets +2 attack and has trample.
They're talking about different cards and the values of different ones and what they pulled and stuff.
Scrolling me love it. got them able today. Looks really nice. They just look great. Yeah, a lot of the cards do have a nice look to them, to be sure. And then we got Tide Collar Mentor, Rat Wizard, 3/3 for 3, black and blue. Menace, Threshold. It's an uncommon. Tide Holder Mentor enters if 7 or more cards are in your graveyard, return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Okay, so it's sort of a mana war with Threshold, but a bit bigger and with Menace.
So
Stargaze.
It looks like we've got a lot of new people coming in case you're wondering what's going on. We went through the Deckmasters Garfield versus Finkel collection, and now we're just going through some
now we're just doing a little
cards.
Bloomburrow round 3 opening, comparing value boosters to play boosters. See which we get better in.
That art is kind
We've
of interesting.
had split on the last 2 rounds. Look at twice X cards from the top of your library. Put X cards from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You lose X life. That is interesting.
That
will
art
give it that.
is really neat. I'm not sure what I think about it.
Some Batfolk dedicate their lives to seeing the world beyond them. Okay, next we have another rare.
Wow.
Balin the Haymaker. Legendary Rabbit Warrior. 1 white, 1 green, 1 red for a 4/3. Tap 2 untap tokens you control. Add 1 mana of any color. Tap 3 untap tokens you control. Draw a card. Tap 4 untap tokens you control. Put 3+1/+1 counters on Balin the Haymaker. It gains trample until end of turn.
That's $1.50.
Well,
So
that's 2 rares out of 2 packs. So now out of 6 value packs that we've opened, half of them have had a rare or mythic. So
another mountain.
this is a
Ooh,
good.
Look at that other token. Is that a token?
It's a treasure token.
It's so cute.
And another mountain, yeah, same as the
I like
other
the
one.
tokens. They're really cute.
Yeah, some of the tokens and lands here look nice. But yeah, this is a strong round 3 for the value boosters so far. 2 rares in 2 packs. So
Well, if we ever want to
double rares do certainly happen in play boosters, though. So it's not out of the question that this could pull something really good or something, or more multiples to
it's
still
something
win
fun
round
and
3
cheap
here.
for kids to get too if they want some magic cards.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the idea behind it, is it's a cheaper pack.
Yeah.
Again, in Canada, these ones, again, even a $10 play pack seems not so bad when I compare it to the Modern Horizons 3 I saw for $17 a pack at the Walmart. Yeah. Whatever.
Gambling, the idea behind magic is gambling.
Well, it's largely been, but I mean, any sort of collector cards have always been random packs. It's just since it became, a game as well, that's become more obviously problematic in terms of
I'm really
not
glad
just a
that
collector thing.
they stopped putting gum in packages with cards.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
gross.
We opened some old packs there a day or so ago on stream, and one of the cards was just welded to the gum stick. You couldn't
The
separate
kids
them.
actually, they kept going back to
They
it.
wanted to
They
try.
complained about the texture, but they kept going back to the gum.
Well, now it's 46. I don't know.
What's-
I mean, obviously missed something.
Oh, the viewers are going
Oh,
back
okay.
and forth.
Back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that always happens.
Becca's trying to give us more likes, and I appreciate Becca's
3
work.
tree root weaver.
It's cute.
Add 1 mana of any color. 2
can't
for a
like them.
3/1. It's a mole.
It's cute though.
It's easy to find your way around the root maze if you know what to look, listen, smell, feel, and taste for.
I remember once I actually found a mole on the side of a road. It was out, which was weird.
Sonar strike.
They're ugly,
So this
but
is a
cute at
bat
the same
thing
time.
again. 2 for an instant. It does 4 damage to target attacking, blocking, or tapped creature. You gain 3 life if you control a bat. That's not bad. I mean, for white removal, it's kind of limited, which is usually what white's removal is. So But I think that's playable
Just a
in a
quick
draft or something.
heads
Anyway.
up for a lot of viewers, if you guys want to come back and watch us, we do. We also do Pokemon and other
Yeah.
other card games, and we're having a 24-hour stream on Thursday. So.
The math isn't mathing.
Just the
whatever.
lights to the.
Elena's Pathmaker. So an otter wizard.
Oh, that's cool.
4/2 for 4. When it enters, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. So this is sort of, it's like an Elkin bottle. Except just, it does it the once when it comes into play.
I just like the art. I'm in it for the art.
If you don't understand that reference, Elkin Bottle was one of the more discussed cards from the Deckmasters.
Oh, interesting.
Scales of Shale.
It's weird.
Instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each lizard you control. Target creature gets +2 attack and gains lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. Like shedding, but backwards.
It's kind of interesting art.
It is. Why tick? Okay. Thursday, Friday fun stream planned for that sub. Okay. Tree Guard Duo. So 4/3 for 4. Frog Rabbit. When Tree Guard Duo enters, until the end of turn, target creature you control gains vigilance and gets +X, where X is the number of creatures you control. You shall not pass me, croaked the frog. Nor me, growled the rabbit. Moonrise Cleric. There's a Bat Cleric. 3/2 flying for 3. And when it attacks, you gain a life. I mean, it's more easily playable than something like a, what's the thing called? The vampire that was popular years ago.
If they want to like it, they can. If they don't want to, that's fine too.
Yeah.
We just appreciate them being here and watching.
It's nice to
It's all
have
good.
new people check us out, whether they share in comments or whatever they do.
Is that the
So-
raccoon again?
It's a raccoon. It's a raccoon berserker.
It's cute. I love it.
4/5 for 5. Trample. Whenever you expend 4, Junkblade Bruiser gets +2/+1 until end of turn. You expend 4 as you spend your 4th total mana to cast spells during a turn. Interesting.
Or else I will do nothing. Oh, Alias. I like this card. It's cute.
It is cute. Oh, now we're into uncommons. Patchwork
I like that
Formation.
one.
2 costs. Choose 1. Destroy target creature with flying, or destroy target enchantment, or draw a card and create a food token.
I like the art on that. It's cute.
It is neat.
I could get into the set just by the art. I seriously
Plumed
could.
Mentor. It's a Bird Scout.
Oh, Isabel's stupid watch is going
2/3 flying for 3. When Plumed Mentor or another creature you control with flying enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control with flying. This would go nicely with that rare we pulled in round 2 from the play booster. Another bird.
Isabel's stupid watch is going on again.
Long River Pole.
The like button is right there and even got dressed for the occasion. Ooh,
2
it's a
blue,
frog.
gift
It's a frog,
a
right?
card.
Yeah, it's a frog.
You may promise opponent a gift as you cast a spell. If you do, they draw a card before its other effects. Counter target creature spell. If the gift was promised, instead counter target spell.
Oh my god.
Okay, so it's a 2 cost, counter a creature, or give them a card to counter anything. That's interesting, at least. Bone Cache Overseer. 1/1 for 1. Squirrel Warlock. Tap it and pay a life. Draw a card. Activate only if 3 or more cards left your graveyard this turn, or if you sacrificed a food token this turn. So
I could totally see squirrels being
Conditional.
warlocks. I just could. Those, I just the way they are. Oh my goodness.
all good. At least we know people like MTG Knights. Yeah, well, they seem to like openings more than they like the discussion part of this one, anyway.
Well, it all depends. Like it depends what set you're
Oh,
talking
we got a
about.
rare. Well, we always get a rare in this type of pack. I shouldn't be surprised. So there's at least a rare.
Oh, I like it.
Kidnap. 4 cost. You control enchanted creature. And when it comes into play, tap the enchanted creature. If the gift was promised, put 3 stun counters on it.
I like it. I
Huh.
like the art.
If the gift wasn't promised. Okay, so it locks the creature down and you gain control of it. Or it doesn't not lock the creature down if you give them a gift. You're getting rid of their creature and gaining it for yourself. So I can see giving up a card to try to balance it. That kind of makes sense.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is making me want to open more of this because I like the art.
And then we got our swamp. So this would just had the 1 rare. Oh, we got a foil uncommon.
Oh, let's get a sleeve for that one.
Honored Grey Leader,
Oh wait, we want a sleeve for this one too, right?
I guess. To me, it's a worse control magic as a rare. And control magic was uncommon, so it doesn't impress me.
I like the art. I told you, I'm all about the art.
When Honored Grey Leader enters, put a +1/+1 counter on it for each other squirrel and or food you control.
Okay. There's different
Whenever
versions.
another squirrel or food enters, put a +1/+1 counter on
It's
Honored
a
Grey Leader.
75-cent card for that one.
Right.
So the other
It's
foil?
it's a foil.
Ooh, I like that token.
We've had this token before. It's
I
a
like
fish
it.
token. And then we're back to the start of the pack. So yeah, you said this card was like, yeah, less than a buck.
75 cents.
Yeah. So these at $2.50, definitely the value booster has taken round 3 just as a round goes.
Yeah.
However, let's look at our total here. We got 2 250 cards and the hugs, which I think was like a buck. So that's what, $4 worth out of 6 play boosters. And just check hugs quickly.
Sorry. Which one?
Hugs.
That one I think was like $1.50 or $2, wasn't it?
It might have been 2. You're
$2.50.
250. Okay, so 250 and 150, 150. So $5.50 total for 6 packs. And then for this, you said this was 75 cents. I think this one was similar. Might have been a buck.
Let's check. $0.75.
75 cents. So yeah, it's a total of $1.50 so far. And then we got Season of the Bold, which I think was $3. So that's $4.50 total with 2 rares and a mythic, and $5.50 total with 2 rares and a mythic. So overall, we did slightly better
Yeah, it was $3.
out of the value boosters than we did out of the play boosters in the end anyway. But it's very similar. Three packs here, we got 2 rares and a mythic. 6 packs here, we got 2 rares. One of them is a
That's
full
like
art.
$0.75 of a dollar. There goes Alias doing math.
and 1 mythic. So yeah,
Yeah. It's been fun. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to buying the odd pack here and there because I do like the art. It's kind of neat.
the art is kind of neat. I do like some of the flavor, but to be honest, a lot of these cards don't really impress me. Some of them seem a little complicated, and some of them, like I said, this just seems like a worse control magic to me, and they made it rare. But
I don't know. We could always just do a giveaway with what we
but
don't
yeah,
like.
some of these are kind of neat.
Just keep what we want for the art and just...
Haymaker and
We're going to figure out
good.
what we're going to be doing for giveaways for the magic portion.
there's our 2 mythics that we
Thursday.
got in round 1 and round 2. So, I mean, we've gotten some stuff. It's a sampling of the set, and yeah, I can't really complain. That's for sure. But
It could be neat. I don't know.
I
if
wouldn't say we got any big hits. I don't even know what the big hits in this set are, to tell you the truth.
I think they
So-
were talking about some of them. I don't know. Alice keeps trying to get us to adopt them.
Excuse me. Bit of a cough. All right. So there's our Bloomburrow. Round 3 goes to the value boosters. Actually beat out when you're getting 2 of them for 1 compared to play boosters.
So yeah, it was neat. It was interesting. So, anyway, so what else do we want to say?
I don't know. That's basically all I had planned for tonight. We've talked about the dual decks. We talked about particularly the Deckmaster, and I love the history of it again.
God, it would wreck yourself.
Just an older feature where you. Ugh.
Yeah, you gotta adjust the camera. You got here.
Yeah. Yeah. The Deckmaster product here, where you had the game's designer versus a top tournament player of the day, competing, building decks from
Yeah, we don't know how to
a
fix the
limited
mirror
card
issue.
pool in
Sorry.
Ice Age and Alliances, with a cap on rares and duplicates and things like that. It was a fun product, and I really appreciated it, and I just enjoyed sharing it. So
It's a no
I
shot.
think the deck. Oh, sorry. I do have a big schnoz, and my hair is a little unkempt because I just got home from work, and then we had a Lego set to build with Ezra before we did this stream, so that'll be coming out in a day or two. If
Ezra
anyone
needs a
cares to
haircut
see.
tomorrow. Maybe you can get one too.
Maybe, or were you planning on? We were considering our plans for tomorrow.
Yeah, we're trying
Not
to
something
decide
we
what
need
we're
to
doing.
do on stream.
No.
So, but thanks for coming out. Thanks for sharing this with us. I do think Bloomburrow is an interesting set. A little
I'm trying
bit
to
of
sneak in here.
originality compared to a lot of other sets that they've come out with lately. And I'm looking forward to our big stream on Thursday, where we're gonna kick it off with the Pokemon section. We got some Lost
I'm very
Origin,
excited about it.
booster box and packs to open, and then we're gonna get into a Magic the Gathering section. Well, I say Magic the Gathering section, but really the connecting thread through it is gonna be Lord of the Rings.
But
So we're gonna do Magic, Tales of Middle Earth, Play Booster, not Play Booster.
another
What is it?
Mew.
What's the stupid? They keep naming set boosters. We got a box of set boosters. We're gonna open for that, and I'm gonna try and fill some holes in my set.
Is there a Mew in Lost Origin? I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, is there the black gold one?
And then after
So
we
that's
do
it.
the Magic the Gathering Tales of Middle Earth, we'll get into the Decipher Lord of the Rings game. I've got a box of Fellowship of the Ring, 2 boxes actually, but we'll just do one I think on the stream and start out making my set of Fellowship of the Ring.
We're also
the first set ever for Decipher's Lord of the Rings,
Well, we're
based
also-
off the film. It's not hand drawn art on those cards. It's film movie shots, which
we're also
is a very different aesthetic. But the
We're-
game was designed well for play, from what I hear.
every time I think you're done talking and you're not.
Sorry.
We're also going to be probably battling some Magic the Gathering versus some Pokemon. We got to decide what we're gonna battle though. What set to battle? Like it'll be value wise. Just because how do you
I
battle it?
don't know.
I just a few packs. I want to battle something.
Maybe we
This
should
will be
battle
fun.
the 2 different. The Decipher Lord of the Rings versus the. I don't know. Whatever.
No, I meant Pokemon versus Lord of the Rings. 'Cause
Well,
that was fun.
Then we need a whole bunch more Pokemon to open.
No, we can do it with the Lord of the Rings for our opening.
What?
Never mind. We'll see.
Because we'll have already opened the Pokemon in the previous section.
No, we just have to get a little bit more Pokemon to, never
Do
mind.
a few pack
We'll
battles.
figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Maybe we can do a few pack battles.
That's
Anyway.
that's all I meant. Just a
Okay.
few, just to kind of like go into the next stream.
Then for section 3, because we're breaking up a 24-hour stream basically into
I will attend
4.
to the blasphemous pack opening.
Right. Well, I appreciate that anyway. We're breaking it up into 4 blocks of 5 to 6 hours
Yeah.
each. To get through the 24 hours, we might need to take a few little breaks in between. And we never know how the kids are going to
And we're also
chime in to add stuff.
yes.
I think the 4th block we're going to have mostly wrapping it up with whatever the kids want to do to add in. Maybe we'll build some Lego, stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought so.
And the overnight block, starting at midnight, I think is going to be left to me and my Star Trek interest.
We'll see how much I want to stay up.
I've got a booster box of a couple booster boxes of Star Trek I'd like to dig into. I'm thinking right now it's probably going to be the 2nd set that was released, Alternate Universe, followed by the Ferengi based set there. What's it called again? It's one I've never opened before, so it'll be fun. But it's basically based around the Deep Space Nine Ferengi. Rules of Acquisition, that's what it's called.
Okay.
So,
Just a little note, because we forgot to say it, and he just kept talking. He doesn't normally talk this much. It's usually me that talks the most. Anyways, what I'm inserting here is we also have the slab giveaway that we're going to be giving away. So
yes, we were kindly gifted some slabs to give away during this thing. So, have we decided if we're doing one during each section or if we're doing it all up front during Pokemon?
I think it's going to depend on if we get any big hits from Lost Origin. So if we get a Giratina, there's going to be a slab giveaway. If we get the Aerodactyl, there's going to be a slab giveaway. So,
and if we still have some slabs left over,
Yeah.
maybe we'll save them for the last section so we can finish with a bang.
You know, I wouldn't mind doing one in each section, but I don't know how many Lord of the Rings or Magic the Gathering people would be
Well, I've got
interested
some
in.
giveaway ideas for
Give me love everywhere.
for doing some Lord
Yeah.
of the Ring type giveaways too. So
Yeah, but we want to find some fun ways of doing too. Thomas wants to do a game with guessing Pokemon, so we might incorporate that
test
into
your
something.
Pokemon knowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll try and come up with some prizes at some point.
and some interesting different ways of playing games too. I don't know. There's lots of stuff we can do. So
So if anybody who's been here through the whole stream, or at least enough of it to have gotten a feel for it, I'm curious to see what you guys thought was the more interesting deck put together. Garfield's deck or Finkle's deck? Richard Garfield, the game designer, or John Finkel, the tournament pro? Who do you think put together the more interesting deck in the Deckmasters competition there that they had going? Yeah, well,
what do you mean I won't let you?
I liked the green and red deck better. So did I, to be honest. John, yeah, well, there you go. There's the other opinions. You got both. People can go either way, and I respect that for sure. There was definitely some strong cards and strategies put into both. I think for the style of format it was, I prefer the red-green. But I can definitely see where John Finkel's deck's coming from, and he does have some good cards.
I mean, land destruction is just poetry.
In some ways. There wasn't a lot in there, though. I think there's only one land destruction card in both decks combined, so and that was the Pillage. I'm not even sure if there were 2 copies of it. So
Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exhausting, but it's going to be fun. On
it'll be a
Thursday.
challenge. It's something new we've never tried.
We'll
so.
probably do snack testing too, or taste testing.
Oh, I'm sure people are gonna want to eat. So
We might have to come up with some interesting. Maybe we should make poutine or poutine for those that like to say that way, and then we can show off a Canadian delicacy.
right,
Well, yeah,
which is not named after the leader of Russia.
no poutine. That's why I say poutine.
So
I don't know why people say that. And then they get, oh, you gotta ban that food. And that's as political as we're gonna get. We're not gonna say anything more. But it's a very delicious food with French fries covered with cheese curds and gravy.
A lot of people don't like it because it's just greasy salt.
Well,
I like to add a little bit of
It
vinegar.
is a little bit greasy and salty for sure, but it's not completely
Canadian
useless.
delicacy like
Potatoes
pancakes.
are
Yeah,
nutritious.
there's potatoes.
And-
It's the
uh,
maple syrup that's a
And
Canadian
cheese
delicacy,
has
not
got some
necessarily the
protein and
pancakes.
other good stuff for you in it. So
yeah, but
I wouldn't eat it every day.
I mean, even that.
But I know
I
a
guess,
song
like,
that concludes a balanced diet is a beer and a potato. So
I mean, it gets to a point where
I wouldn't suggest it
No.
again as a regular basis either.
No.
But
wouldn't all the saturated fats sort of outweigh everything after a while?
We do usually have a food truck out back.
we do.
So we could just run over to the food truck. It's not the best in, but
Well,
it's there.
usually is a stretch. We sometimes have one that stops near our house.
What are you doing? You should be in bed, mister. Popping.
Yeah.
The-
Here's another random. Those decks that I showed with the gold borders, which were again from tournaments. This is a random sleeve of cards I ordered years ago to fill out some of the cards that were missing from one of them, and I never got them put in there. So this is just another little random pack of cards that I can share as we close. Necrotal was a fun. I'm not surprised it saw tournament play. At the time, when it comes into play, destroy a non-artifact, non-black creature. It was a 2-for-1, so even though it cost 4 for a 2/1 first strike, you were getting something for it anyway.
Is there anybody on that we can just go and bug?
Yeah, we can check if you like. We got a Thrall Surgeon, again, narrow use, probably sideboard card.
Oh, there's
A
still a lot.
Spike Weaver from Exodus. Spikes never really took off. They were, yeah.
CK is
Exodus was the set following Stronghold, which
Yeah,
had a
we-
bunch of spikes.
We
in it.
could go bug CK. I
We
mean,
got Hall of Gemstone
never
if you just
done
want to
that
mess
before.
with people's mana production without destroying things. During each player's upkeep, that player chooses a color, and until end of turn, each
Hall of Gemstone is a great card.
mana producing land only produces mana of that color. Yeah, it can mess with people for sure. And again, it's an enchant world,
Alright,
so
why
anyone can
not?
throw out another
Also
enchant world to get rid of it. And then we've got Phyrexian Furnace.
Why not?
2
Let's go bug
copies.
them.
And we're back to Necrotal, so.
We'll go bug
A
CK.
few
We've
cards
never
that were
raided
missing from one
CK
of those
before,
decks.
so we could do that. It's not technically a raid because I don't know how to redirect. I don't know if that's only until
From back in the late 90s, I liked
I'm sorry, I don't know why people
Magic
call it
then.
raid.
because you send everybody
a
over.
little bit
Yeah,
more
but
than I
when
do
you say
now. It's still a
raid-
fun game, but it's gotten a little bit too much to keep track of, in my opinion,
I
at the
don't know.
time being.
Because whenever people say raid, usually it makes me think of the definition of raid, which is where you just
Yeah.
go in and steal, or
Well-
I guess in an internet sense, it would make
It's just what people call
it
it.
would make more sense for it to be just where you have a bunch of people going there and you just harass people, which is
All right. Well, I'm gonna put the link for CK Plays in. Please go over there and say Spocat raid, and yeah, give him some love. He's not necessarily for everyone, but he's a fun guy, and he enjoys what he does.
And again, thanks for joining us. I went through almost the entirety of this book that came with the product, so if you missed the early part of the stream and you're interested, it's a great little bit of history about the product and the
it's-
thought
there we
process
go.
that went into it. I'll whip out the poster here that came with it again too, which is a neat piece of art, I think, of a goblin mutant battling a Lurgoyf. So I think they did a pretty good job with this product, and I just really, really enjoyed it. So I hope some of you enjoyed sharing with that too. This Deckmasters duel between the creator and a tournament champ. So
All right. So hit up that link. Head over there. Hopefully we'll get a couple people, a few of you. Please, everybody, just go over, even if you're just in for a quick hi, and hit the like button, even if you didn't
It's
like
just
ours.
a friendly community thing
Yeah.
to do. I know a lot of people aren't into that, but
Yeah.
it's fun.
Just drop a hello and feel free to leave. But
To the soothing sound of boil. I don't know that word. Oh, beautiful. It just sort of spells interesting.
I'm not saying
Okay.
me rate until I see
Well,
some
I'm
people.
glad some people appreciate this because I'm not sure what to think of it myself. I was thinking it's due for a trim personally, but I could be persuaded perhaps otherwise. But I do need to do something with it because it is getting tangled a bit more than it used to. So that just comes with the volume, I suppose. And, I used to just keep a little goatee. It's gotten my goatee is
Emmy's over
overrun
there.
its
Everybody
typical
get over
bounds.
there. Go, everybody. Go over to CK. Go see him. Okay.
Thanks for coming out. We really enjoyed this one. At least I did. And I am looking at putting together that Onslaught set for hopefully next Monday, if I can get it together in time. Because Onslaught was a really transitional time in Magic the Gathering, so I look forward to chatting a little bit about that. And I'm glad I found this weird harvest, because I don't know if I've got another copy elsewhere or not, so...
Never really gotten into the meat of the situation.
All right. You guys can go over there anytime.
Signing pieces of cardboards and things. Let's go.
Weird.
I can't do abbreviations if I don't know. I'm mentally handicapped.
Okay, guys. Bye. Go click the link. Go do it. We
Have a good
appreciate
night.
you. Bye for now. See you
Ciao.
soon.